it's 3 o'clock. Doug, did you want to ask that question now that we started?
I'll do it when we do announcements.
Oh, all right.
Announcing Doug's announcement.
I didn't put your question as a bullet point, so you'll have to... I didn't have time.
Not a bullet point. What about like a sword slice mark?
No,
Protect
not
our
one
kids.
of those. I know.
Or flamethrower burn mark.
Bullet points should be illegal.
That's right. It's insensitive, right? Or whatever they say. It's not. It's politically incorrect. We can't use bullet points.
Interestingly, I've never heard anyone actually come after that term for that reason.
Yet. We just gave all our viewers an idea now.
Anyway, Doug did in fact have an announcement to make.
You did have an announcement.
And he's going to make it right now.
All right. Well, welcome to the virtual tour, and just a quick announcement, or just a kind of, basically a question out to the peanut gallery there.
Ew.
What are some good podcast episodes that you might suggest for the Gribble Nation podcast? Just put them in the comments section, and we'll take a look at it.
Put your suggestions in the Roadway Whiz inbox, which is the live chat below.
Yes.
Thanks, Dave Gribble.
Word.
What is Dave Gribble up to these days?
Actually, I think he lives in Colorado.
Is he really?
Appropriately enough. There you go.
That's appropriate.
Him and his, apparently he has bushy eyebrows, apparently. I don't know, don't ask me. Adam Prince knows.
I've never met the man, so...
That's a personal problem.
Well, my understanding is that after the
operation?
After the SWIPA meet in, after the SWIPA meet in the beginning of May, there might be a Dave Gribble tour. You can see all the sites where Dave Gribble lives.
I've heard some ideas thrown around as to what is going to actually take place.
Yes.
It would be really cool if we could get... I don't know. I don't even know where the meet photo from 1999 was taken, but if you
Greensburg.
Yeah, I think it was.
That makes sense.
But if you could recreate that, like in the same place, know,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's been floated as an option, but
Possibly.
yeah.
But you know what? If there's no Dave Gribble tour, apparently the Pirates are at home against the Colorado Rockies that weekend.
Ooh.
See, now that would be a good thing to do after the meet.
But Dave Gribble.
It's not only a good thing to do; it is now required.
I mean, if PNC is involved, then it's kind of required. So,
yeah.
All right, I'm going with you. Let's get tickets.
All right,
let's do it. Anyway, we've been randomly sitting around here waiting for people to show up before we start, but Doug did a pretty good introduction himself. So I don't know. I might just have to go in the bedroom and take a nap while the rest of these guys do the show.
Either way, it'd be more exciting than today's Jets game.
Do we need to cue up the Monty Python? Get on with it!
We're doing a virtual tour of Interstate 70 across western and central Colorado this evening, and we're starting our 5th winter of live. Well, that too, but live programs.
New Jerseyans causing trouble again. It's a theme.
Some of them have been good ones. Others have had him involved.
We're all New Yorkers today.
So who is here? I've got Anthony.
Hi.
I've got Alps. Hi.
Yeah.
What's happening? Yeah, I saw you yesterday, didn't I?
Maybe. Not in a good state.
Yeah, you were thinking too much about food.
No, I was fine. We were just in a bad state together.
Well, we were pursuing our happiness, and it didn't go very well.
In the state of independence, I prefer the state of independence myself.
Speaking of whom, here he is. Doug's here.
Yeah, word.
Do you want to? What's new on Gribble Nation?
Gribble Nation. I recently posted an article about the Alexandra Bridge in Ottawa, Ontario. Actually, I was there a few weeks ago.
Ottawa's. I've really enjoyed your contributions to the blog with all the bridges and stuff like that, and Ottawa's a place that has some really interesting stuff in
Yeah,
it too.
you need to visit Ottawa sometime. But if you want to see the Alexander Bridge, I would recommend doing so before 2028 because they're actually going to be replacing the bridge.
Really?
I didn't know it was that far out.
Oh.
Well, that's from what I was reading. I mean, they're doing work right now to kind of keep it in check until they're ready to do the replacement.
So they're gonna tear that one down, huh?
Yeah.
Tear that one down and put a new one in its place. Hopefully the new one lasts as long and is just as nice.
I wonder if they're looking at the example of the Pulaski Skyway here in New Jersey, where they looked at it, they said it'll be a little cheaper to rehabilitate than replace it, so let's go ahead and rehab. They got in there and discovered that the parts of the structure they couldn't see from the outside were far worse than what they thought, leading to a project that's lasted at least a decade longer than expected, a couple $2 billion more. Canada may have just said, we have a through truss bridge. Based on what happened with that through truss bridge down there, we're not taking our chances.
Because I think they were built around the same time, weren't they?
Well, no,
Or
the
no,
Alexander
Alexander's
Bridge
early.
was
Alexandra's older.
opened in
Yeah.
1901.
Yeah, much older.
And it actually was originally a railroad bridge.
Yeah, it is like a miniature Quebec bridge when you
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a feeling. I compared it a lot to the Victoria Bridge in Montreal
Yeah.
because
okay.
it has that outside deck for cars.
Oh, okay.
The structure of it, I agree with you in the Quebec. It's got that, like, the pinnacle.
It's got the
and
profile to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's in a beautiful surrounding. Basically, you have the end of the Rideau Canal there. You have Parliament Hill.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of. If you get the chance, visit Ottawa sometime. I look forward to the. And I do look forward to whenever there's an Ottawa webinar. I will be part of that.
Welcome to today's virtual tour of Kings Highway 417.
and Ottawa is the one place in Canada where they were willing to make my burger less than well done.
Okay.
In Canada, it has to be medium well or well. They were able to make it pink for me.
Very common issue
I
with
talked them
health
into it.
department regulations. They don't like letting people serve meat.
So I recommend Ottawa as the place to be.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody who came out to the Lancaster meet yesterday, and not including the mini meet in South Jersey next weekend. That means that the next meet on the calendar is coming up in mid-February, and some knucklehead is hosting an event down in New Orleans in middle of February.
The next full-size event, yes.
Yeah. Well, I said, not including the...
Yeah, mine's mini.
All right. Yeah. I know.
It's just like a mini meet.
So these are the confirmed meets and dates that we have so far. If we go out the next 6 months or so, there might be others that pop up in the coming weeks, but that's what we have right now. Find a road meet near you and come and join us and hang out.
Yep.
And you might be able to meet these knuckleheads who are on my panel tonight. And we promise you that we actually are somewhat mature.
Yeah,
And
right.
since
So, I said somewhat.
And since you raised it, for those watching who don't know or maybe don't follow the forum, there's going to be a little mini meet to explore the missing moves that just opened in South Jersey. We're going to be meeting at Mission Barbecue right there in Deptford Mall at 11:30. So feel free to come join us. We're going to do a little tour of all the movements down there and enjoy each other's company, have a good time, and see some construction.
I think you're a mod on my channel, so you could post the link to that if you wanted to.
I'd have to be on your channel to do that
Yeah.
and know what I'm doing.
Well, you just copy and paste whatever link it is
Interesting.
into the
Yeah.
chat.
Interesting.
Should also mention that
Yeah, you can
there's
handle that,
yes.
can't you?
Yeah. I should also mention, for people who don't use the AARoads forum, or even if you do, there's also a Road Meets group on Facebook called Road Meets.
Yeah, so go to Facebook and search Road Meets. That's the name of the group, and that's where you'll find news and updates to upcoming events. There's some nostalgic stuff that I've been working into the mix. There's 25 years of meat history, so there's a lot to cover as far as that's concerned. But it's kind of it's the Facebook one-stop shop for road meet news and stuff like that.
And I think with the Meadville, PA meet, if you see the potential meets, I think that is going to be in June sometime.
I didn't see if there was an official date for that, but okay.
Isn't there also one for Orlando and it's in like September or something?
Like October.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure if I'd want to go to Orlando.
It's later in the year.
Yeah, so I think that 3 of these 4, not including Meadville, are like possible fall candidates in 24, and Meadville is like June sometime, maybe.
Laura posted right as I did. Thanks, Laura.
Ah, okay. So today's drive is 175 miles or so, and we'll be driving it in the eastbound direction, starting in Glenwood Springs around mile marker 115, and ending at the eastern fringe of the Denver metro area at around mile marker 290. And you can see where we're going to start. We'll go through the mountains and the Front Range and all of that fun stuff, and we'll end up descending into Denver, and we'll talk about some Denver stuff as we get towards the end
as soon
here.
as we finish, it's hundreds of miles of flat terrain after Denver.
Yeah, you enter Illinois like right after you leave Denver, don't you?
Yeah.
No, then you'd have some hills.
Yeah. We're back next week for our first webinar of the winter, and we will stay right in the state of Colorado, and we'll talk about Denver more in depth. But we will kind of get into some of that stuff. We'll touch on a couple of important Denver-related features today, and we'll touch on the rest of it next week.
Yep.
All right.
And one other thing is, if you like this webinar, obviously like, share, subscribe. But there's a Instagram account called I-70 Things, which is kind of a pointed look at the things that happen on I-70 in Colorado, especially in the mountains.
Okay.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hopefully we're seeing mostly not ugly today.
All right, this video is 2 hours and 22 minutes.
We will pick up our discussions at the end. Enjoy the next silence. Wait.
Yep. All right, we're out. See ya. Okay, we're going to jump right into this because we have a pretty important scenic highlight right off the bat here as we get past Glenwood Springs, which is where we're starting. And that is, of course, the Glenwood Canyon stretch of I-70. Glenwood Springs, by the way, is where you would pick up Highway 82, which I think is at this exit up here.
Yeah.
That leads you generally southeastward into Aspen, and then beyond that is Independence Pass, which is one of the signature mountain pass drives on the Colorado highway system.
I did that drive once, and I actually blogged about Independence Pass. That is... that's an incredible mountain drive.
Yeah, that was, of the ones I've done in Colorado, that's my favorite one.
It is the highest through road on the Colorado State Highway system, but it is actually not the highest paved pass in Colorado. There's a higher one that's a county route.
Oh, okay. So for a number of years, I-70 ended here in Glenwood Springs, and the section that we are entering now was not completed until 1992. It took about 12 years to build this next 12-mile section. And this is, of course, the Glenwood Canyon stretch. Now, there's so much that's been said about this road. So many superlatives have been used. I will spare you a lot of that, I hope, in the next 10-15 minutes, but just sit back and enjoy the views. They are really neat.
Please point the camera up a little.
You know what? I wish I could. You know, but you know the thing is that no camera could possibly do this justice.
Mine can
Anyway.
Yeah, yours could because, well, yeah.
Because I'm holding it by hand and I never update my website, so there's no point in trying.
There has been a road through the Glenwood Canyon Pass going back to the pioneer days in the 1800s. And when they were picking the alignment for I-70...
They went through a tunnel.
Well, they did build a tunnel. Here's one of... So this tunnel has 2 bores, one for each direction. There's also another tunnle that is just for westbounders only.
Yep.
So there's
on the old road more.
So that's why there are when they describe this project, and they say there are 3 tunnels. Well, there are 3 bores, so I guess you could say it's 1.5 total. Exit 119, by the way, is for the no-name metropolitan area.
Well, that's where you find a horse. Horse with no name.
Yes, right. It's actually literally the name of that location, though. one of the goofier names out there in America, and it's also yeah, they have a rest area over there. One of these, okay. So
There is a rest area in Glenwood, in the Glenwood Canyon area, where you can actually, basically, it's on the eastbound side, although you can access it from westbound I-70 as well. And basically you can take in some of the scenery there, and it's actually the last time I went through this, that I actually stopped there and I got some pictures.
This is Alps here. I drove this nice canyon stretch westbound, and you can see as the roads are separating here, you'll see a lot more where just because it's perched on the side of a mountain, westbound is generally going to be above eastbound. So you don't get the structure in your view, which if you really enjoy roads and you want road photos, eastbound will give you the bridge in every shot. But if you want to just enjoy the scenery, I do highly recommend doing this westbound.
Well, I recommend going in both directions.
Yeah, no, and it's worth noting for the entire length of the stretch, there is no swapping. It is consistently that westbound is above eastbound because they stay on the same side of the canyon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, so there are a few exits in this canyon section. They mostly lead to trailheads and other service access stuff.
Nothing exits the canyon.
No, right. No, well, right. There's no way out of the canyon, and I don't. Nobody lives in Grizzly Creek.
Yeah, right.
There are a few towns along the way.
Well, actually, there's people who live in Grizzly Creek. They're called van lifers.
Okay. Well.
But no, there are a few exits that do have towns, and maybe a gas station here and a restaurant there. It's not completely undeveloped.
I'm talking about within the canyon, though, specifically.
Oh,
obviously, right.
Well, I take the broader stretch of I-70 more than just this 10-mile stretch that we're looking at. As we go, we'll see it. This 70 remains pretty isolated overall. There's only a couple of connections out until you get to Denver.
Well, even basically going the opposite direction too, like between Glenwood Canyon and Grand Junction, that's also very scenic, and there's not a lot of ways out. I think there's a couple towns, but
that opens up a bit more at least.
Yeah, but still,
here you're hemmed in on both sides for.
Yeah,
you can also enjoy the view of the charcoal off to the left there.
Yeah, I think there was a wildfire
It was, in summer of 2020, there was a wildfire in Glenwood Canyon that was started by sparks thrown onto dry brush by chains dragging from the back of a truck. So secure your loads, folks. And so I-70 through the canyon was closed naturally for a bit during that fire, and then the following summer too, it also kept having to close all the time because basically, a lot of that vegetation is valuable for stabilizing soil, and once it all burned, they started finding in the summer when it would rain, there would be mudslide after mudslide after mudslide.
Yeah, they did have issues with that, the burn scar areas.
Is that why the pavement looks this bad?
I don't know about that.
So when I drove it westbound, I did not run into there's several stretches eastbound.
It took them about a year to make all the repairs that were necessary. Because when I drove through here in the westbound side, which was the more heavily affected side, they were still making repairs to the barriers in 2022.
Yeah.
So it did take a while for everything to get back to 100%.
I think I got through here.
I think they also did after they saw how bad it was with the mudslides in 2021, take some measures to try and mitigate mudslides falling on the road, and they put up some more barriers and key spots and everything. So that's how part of how they've not had nearly as many needs to close the road the last couple summers as they did that first summer after the fire.
I'm guessing what we have here is closure due to damage from the rocks toppling off the westbound onto the eastbound.
Yeah, you did see a bunch of rocks in the median, so.
Which, I mean, that's the thing. Even without a wildfire moving the vegetation, this section of I-70 is prone to landslides. Shocking, right?
And avalanche. Well, maybe not avalanches.
Picking it up.
And it causes issues too because if this section of I-70 has to be closed due to a landslide or whatnot, the shortest detour available is to take Colorado Route 82 over Independence Pass, if it's part of the year that it's open, at least. That road is only open for 3-4 months of the year.
And I think it's something where they open it with I think they open up Independence Pass with either a road race or a bicycle race or something like that, and then they open up to general traffic.
The problem is that it is not suitable to full-size tractor trailers, and they've had issues with truck drivers attempting it anyway, and getting stuck, and so a thing that the state of Colorado has taken a liking to do is that they've taken a liking to whenever there's a closure through Glenwood Canyon, that they actually will set up a police checkpoint west of Glenwood Springs, that if you don't have a local destination in Glenwood Springs or Aspen or wherever, they will actually make you turn around and say, because they don't want people using Independence Pass as a through route, so they don't have to deal with people getting stuck and doing stupid things. And also, the town of Aspen is full of a lot of rich people that, of course, doesn't want the through traffic either. So it might have something to do with it too. But the official detour involves using a lot of US 40, and so it's a much longer detour.
Or US 50.
Right, and in order to get to there, you got to bail much further west for
Well, and that's the other fun thing too, though, right? Is that if you're going through from Grand Junction or anywhere west of there to Denver or anywhere east of there, really, it actually would make more sense to just take 50 the whole way, but it's a much longer detour than if you're hopping off.
So construction of this stretch was delayed for about 20 years due to environmental concerns. And construction finally commenced in 1980. The total construction cost for this 12-mile stretch of interstate came in at $490 million. And this is in 1990s dollars, by the way. So it was one of the most expensive projects on the interstate highway system at the time, and I would imagine it still is up there. A lot of these elevated structures that you see were built with precast concrete segments, and there were crawler cranes that were set up on the piers, and they would lay out the segments and then jump themselves ahead to the next segment. So you didn't have to set up cranes on the canyon floor. It's also worth remembering that there was an active highway here at the time, and I think I think US 6 used what's now the eastbound lanes. For the most part. So
again, this will really spell out to you why I recommend the westbound, because yes, it is fascinating to be under the highway like this, but as you get to some more layered sections, it cuts off your view.
Yeah.
And not here. Here you get to avoid the tunnel.
Right.
Yeah, if you are going the other direction, where we just were, looking west is one of the money shots of the whole canyon. Yeah. And here's the tunnel that I mentioned that's westbound only, whereas we go around the rock cut and westbound goes through it.
Oh, hey, I clinched that tunnel.
I have too, but that is not on today's video.
What did I say, me 3?
I vote that when we get to Denver, instead of going through Denver, we just come back west.
You just want to turn around and go back
there? Just circle. It is. I will say, since I didn't do eastbound, it is interesting to look over and see the westbound side elevated on structure for all this distance. It's, from a structural standpoint, if you're into that, then you do want to do eastbound.
This view is pretty neat too. I'm not gonna lie.
Those guys up there, 50 feet up, whatever.
Yeah.
As I say, I don't think I've actually I've driven through here westbound more than once, but I don't think I've actually done it eastbound.
The only time I took this eastbound was in 1995.
Ooh, all right.
Oh. Wow.
So this, basically, I think it was a few years after they, completed this stretch. And I just kind of remember, with the elevated section, kind of, in a weird sense, had a
bear, but not that spelled.
Like the, like there's a, I don't know, it's kind of like an elevated section of 17 in either Delaware or Sullivan County. Or maybe it's like, I don't know, where is that?
Are you talking about the section that's elevated above Old Route 17?
Yeah.
Because yes, that is a fun spot on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Kind of has a similar vibe. because you're going through the mountains and.
It's really weird that they did that instead of just cutting old 17 off. But,
Yeah.
all right. So something else worth noting: that this part of I-70 was not actually part of the originally approved proposed interstate system. The original plan had I-70 ending in Denver and going no further west. This was added a bit later due to lobbying from the state of Colorado. Actually, that they said, hey, we think it would make sense to run the interstate system for west this way, and this section of I-70 existing does certainly substantially shorten the drive to Los Angeles from Denver.
Right, because it's kind of like a Colorado to
or to Las Vegas.
I-70 is, at least in Utah, is skewed more towards basically traveling towards Las Vegas and Southern California as opposed to Salt Lake, which of course you take US 6.
Well, no, you wouldn't even, because this is the thing. From Denver to Salt Lake, it's actually fastest to take 25 to 287 to 80.
Yeah.
I just took 287 today.
Different 287.
But
not that 287.
But when I think about that, one thing is 70. If you get off at US 50 in Utah, you've now taken 70 the fast way across most of it. 50 has very few stops going through Nevada, and you're gonna come out to Sacramento pretty soon. So, there's an argument to be made that this also serves the Bay Area, not just Los Angeles. So the whole West Coast is benefits from having I-70 here, and having 76 and 70 both come west into Denver and end at 15. Yeah, you've got a giant mountain range there, but it's great to be able to push through the mountain range.
Right.
Or end at 25.
25, right? Sorry. But yeah, because otherwise, it's
70 does in fact end at I-15.
Yeah, but otherwise, nothing gets past 25 at all. So I have a problem with that philosophy, and I'm glad that they thought that through.
And I think that they just, when you see some of the way that some parts of this road look, are part of why it wasn't in the original plan, because people looked at the mountains and said, we're going to try and build an interstate across that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, whereas compared to let's say I-80 across Wyoming is, generally speaking, a little more. I mean, obviously it's pretty high in elevation, but the terrain's a lot more flat.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a gentler way across, certainly.
Yeah.
Some of that gets up to 8,000 feet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Abraham Lincoln's head.
Yeah.
It's the highest point of I-80.
Which well, that's the high thing. So
because it's the old Lincoln Highway.
Pennsylvania would argue that I-80 only matters east of it. It's one of the highest points.
Yeah, what does that sign say? East of the Mississippi River or something?
Yeah.
And then I crack up when I see the I-90 sign in Massachusetts. East of South Dakota.
You used to get a town.
Half of the people who look at that sign don't even know where South Dakota is. So
it's where you catch COVID.
Yeah.
Or Ketchacoma, actually. There's a town in Ontario called Ketchacoma.
I-90 was South Dakota was famous for having that.
I don't think comas are usually contagious.
They had their annual get-together, and they refused to put it off because of COVID, and so, of course, everybody who showed up to that thing got massively sick.
They caught a coma.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we've back to the ranch.
We've
this is flat. This is flat.
Yeah.
Scenic. There's Colorado River.
Yep.
Well, that was also still the Colorado River back in that canyon there.
Yeah.
So I-70 does follow the Colorado River for a bit, but it doesn't actually follow it up to its source.
Right, and
or to its other end.
Well, yes, the Colorado River through Utah mostly runs parallel to about nothing, which is kind of fascinating. You would think a river would be a place that would attract development.
Yeah, the Colorado River, its source is at Loveland Pass, I think that's how you pronounce it, and that's in northern Colorado.
Yeah, it's in the northern Front Range or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, basically the Green River, which is, flows into the Colorado River, that actually flows from Wyoming. So, the watershed is pretty expansive. So it's, basically have Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, California, and
Arizona does not contribute water; it only takes it.
it's part of the watershed
Okay.
for the purposes of my spiel.
The southern terminus of the Colorado River is in Yuma, Arizona,
Well,
more or less.
Well,
Yeah.
these days, technically Mexico is entitled to a certain number of acre-feet of water every year, and I think they get exactly that much.
Yeah. There is a chance in a very rainy year that the Colorado River actually flows down into.
Not anymore. There's reservoirs with too much room to fill up.
So it's not even possible.
The reservoirs would have to fill up first. Good luck.
Mm.
Yeah. Plus, we need to recreate at Lake Havasu.
That's right. We need some water for London
London
Bridge
Bridge,
to go
yeah.
underneath. Yeah.
I have to say. If
Yeah, so actually, right. So this is worth noting that crossing of the Colorado River that we saw signed back there is actually the furthest east crossing of the Colorado River on I-70. We're following the Eagle River already now. Dotsero is where the Eagle flows into the Colorado. So
Yeah, the source of the Colorado River is actually not far from. Is that the North Platte there? No, it's not the North Platte. Well, something runs into the North Platte next to it. But anyways,
Technology.
yes, the most useless river. It's a mile wide and a foot deep, as they say about the Platte River.
What else have I heard that? Well, it's like the Nile is longer than the Amazon, but has like a 20th of the water.
Right.
yeah. I think we're gonna have a cookie.
Yeah, tell us about the cookies you brought.
Yeah, so I baked cookies, which we do everything for these virtual tours and webinars. So actually, I just make cranberry chocolate chip cookies. You just take your chocolate chip cookie mix and basically smush in some cranberries before you bake them, and it's you got some tart, you got some sweet, and it's the second best cookie dough out there.
Aww. Aww.
Yeah, we turn these weekly shows into events. I have to say.
Would you like a cookie?
Yes.
Well, he'll have one. Yeah.
There's only no.
See that?
Yeah.
See, my problem
no,
is.
Doug. No, come
All right.
on. No. No. I want it thrown at me.
This is not Lambert's Restaurant in Missouri, where they throw rolls at you while you eat.
Throwed. They are thrown.
Yeah.
They're not thrown. They are thrown.
And yes, I did just throw a cookie at Alps, by the way.
A great exit to get some wallboard.
And I dropped it just like Garrett Wilson would do. Zach
See?
Wilson.
Yeah, see. By the way, that is what we were watching before the show, and we all, the
Pray
four
for
of
us.
the four of us all agreed that this is like a million times more interesting.
We are
Well,
so
it
happy that
is.
this started.
Well, the game became interesting once
Once we turned it off.
we started this this broadcast. It's
I
now
figured.
21-6 Jets.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
How the hell did they score 21 points?
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say it was 21-19 or something interesting.
No, it's
This is
21-6. 7:30 to go in the fourth, and Jets have the ball at the
scary.
Texans 33.
See, this is the conspiracy theory that I have now, is that Zach Wilson's going to play really well now, and then they're going to be like, oh, we don't need Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And then they're going to dump him, and then Zach Wilson's going to go back to being bad next year.
You know who really needs Zach Wilson though?
The Bills?
No.
Who needs him or who hates him?
Who needs him?
Patriots.
Yeah,
Well,
probably.
that I'd be okay with that, yeah.
Who else do we hate? Cowboys? I don't know.
Well, that's
Yeah.
another one.
Anyway.
His parents. Or his parents' friends.
Yes, his parents' friends. His parents' friends.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
We just passed a ton of gypsum.
Yes, that's why I was making my comment about wallboard. I'm here all week, really.
Mark Wahlberg?
Hey, Wahlberg?
Tandem trailer.
Which states are... I know I'm putting you on the spot, but which states allow triple trailers?
Ohio.
Well, I've seen them in Ohio, but are there?
I don't know if there's others.
I think Oregon does.
That's that one where they chain up at the border, and then the other border they have to drop them again.
Well, this is why we have the internet.
They call those things wiggle wagons.
Well, they sure
You
do.
do. I'm scared to use
And
that.
let's see, triple towing. What is it and where's it legal?
Because I actually don't. I know
There
I've seen
are
them
a
in-
bunch of states, and Ohio is one. Oregon is not. So I went to
I'm pretty sure I've
website-
seen one in Oregon. So,
Well,
Well,
it's not
well.
legal in Oregon. Maybe
What was the
we'll
license
enforce it.
plate?
I don't know.
I'm sure there's a lot of stuff you've seen in Oregon that was not legal.
From the website, the RVGeeks.com, what states is it legal to triple tow? This is as of January 2022. It's, when this post was written. Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Hawaii, Idaho.
Yeah, I don't trust this already. Connecticut? No.
Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana,
No.
Minnesota, Missouri, or is it Missouri? Because it's a
Missouri.
whole day in hell before I recognize Missouri. Michigan, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada,
I don't trust this.
New
at
Mexico, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Pennsylvania.
all.
This
Doug,
sounds
currently only 13 states allow triples.
I'm not done yet.
No,
South
you read more
Carolina,
than 13.
South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Utah, and Vermont.
Nope. Here's a list of states that I found in another source. It's much shorter. Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, both Dakotas, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Utah. That's it.
There we go.
It's much shorter than Doug's list, and I think it's much more.
I think Doug's list had a few French provinces in there or something. Yeah,
Did
you just kept
Allen
going,
too?
you know. Yeah.
Did I say New Brunswick or Nouveau Brunswick?
Yes. No, it's Nouveau Brunswick.
Next to the population of Eureka, California.
You know, Eureka, California, Eureka, California. Was it why Eureka, California?
No, Eureka.
Eureka of California.
It's California, so it's Eureka.
Yeah, Eureka. Yeah.
Ew.
Might be the only police department that anyone has ever threatened to call on the ownership of the AARoads site.
Eagle, Colorado.
The Eureka Police Department.
Oh.
For the backstory of the unaware, so some of you may be familiar with Allen Land. It started as a thread that was forget the direction it went in, but someone started it, not really like intending for it to
Not
spiral
knowing
into a
what it
whole
was.
meme, and this person, once they
Goats.
saw it had become a meme, got very mad and threatened to call the Eureka Police Department about it.
Are you making this shit up?
No.
Like-
Go search the forum. I think the post is still there.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
No, there's very much happened.
How long ago was this? Because I've heard you guys reference Allen Land in the past.
Would be
but-
not that long after the thread started, so years old now. But
Well, there is hope for the Allen.
yes.
Yeah, the things that go on that forum. You thank God I don't pay too much attention to it.
Thank you, God, for not having him pay too much attention to it. You're welcome.
Thank you. Next. Thank you. Next.
Turkey next?
Turkey. Next. Turtle. Next.
I've got my share.
Well, we have a few more people watching now, Doug. So do you want to make your pitch to people about Gribble Nation roadcast topics again?
Yeah, because it's winter, so that's kind of my downtime as far as travel, and I'm just kind of looking to see what people have ideas for possible podcast episodes. I kind of have a few that I want to do. I still need to do my fall recap because I'm not going to do a particular Ottawa and a particular Oregon one at this point. Although I'd like to do a something with Ottawa at some point anyway, so there's actually a lot of neat stuff to talk about there. And I want to do something with FDR and roads.
That's always an interesting thing to do, yeah.
Yeah, because FDR had his hand in the cookie jar for a lot of things, with roads. Whether it was when he was president or when he worked in state politics in New York.
Well, and even in many ways. So there was a lot of alphabet soup money thrown towards paving roads in rural areas.
Yeah, the good roads movement and what have you.
Right. So there were a decent number of roads in talking about things that would be like quadrants in Pennsylvania, everyone's favorite state, I know.
Well, that's a Commonwealth.
That's a made-up term.
But
it's a made-up state.
yeah, a lot.
It's a Commonwealth.
Right. Those roads are all paved today, but some of them were first paved in the 1930s with federal money.
Right.
Oh,
And FDR, he actually was this was kind of something he scribbled, but he was actually planning he actually made plans or a proposal for a parkway to go from his home in Hyde Park to the Taconic State Parkway.
Yeah, so a long driveway basically for his house.
Yeah.
Which in modern times, since I live in Dutchess County, I can tell you.
And that's not FDR Drive.
No, we're not talking about. No, not that FDR Drive. That road actually would be pretty useful nowadays. But
yeah.
Anyway.
So I stumbled across it when I was trying to do research for an FDR blog article that I never wound up writing about FDR and the Taconic State Parkway, which that was kind of his baby.
Where did he live?
Hyde Park, up near north of Poughkeepsie.
So this proposed parkway that
would have went essentially
nothing to do
from
with I-70.
where the Taconic meets US 44.
Right, due west.
Due west Hyde Park.
But not cross. If it crossed the river, then there'd be
No, it wasn't planned across the river.
limited use in that case.
Still would have been useful for that part of Dutchess County.
It might have been seen.
Yeah, like if it shadowed Route 55, for instance, like that would be pretty useful.
Yeah, it wouldn't have shadowed 55 or 44. It would have, from what I gather, it would have went straight from around where the Taconic and 44 meet, west Hyde Park.
But if they could have continued it east into Massachusetts, it would have been a very nice parkway.
Probably only on east of Connecticut.
There's scenery that we're looking at now. And
Yeah.
I don't know, 44 is almost in Massachusetts at that point.
It's near the.
If this. I'm thinking of Western Mass, yeah. No, I'm thinking like if it went up towards Mount Washington, like more.
Mount Washington, Massachusetts.
Right, like more
like Copic Falls,
more
Bashford
northeast
Falls.
that way. That would have been a very interesting parkway.
Yeah.
Last point on the FDR thing, I think that if he was around today, he would be classified as a road geek.
Yeah.
In all likelihood.
Would he be banned from the forum?
That I don't know. I don't think he would be writing stuff about how not flat Illinois is. I like to think he'd be a little more sophisticated than that.
He was a more sophisticated Roosevelt we've had. It's true.
Yeah. Remember, I grew up on Long Island, so when I was a kid, for school field trips, we'd go to Sagamore Hill, which is where Teddy Roosevelt's house was in Oyster Bay.
Right.
I'm not sure if growing up in Dutchess County, if people on school trips they go to FDR's home in Hyde Park.
Nice.
And the variable message sign here says "Watch for wildlife," and there are lots of critters and doughies running around.
Yeah, this is where the deer and the antelope play.
Oh, it's a doe run area.
Yeah.
They definitely have elk in Colorado too, so you get those.
I will say we're getting back into scenery that's going to last all the way to Denver.
Yeah, we passed mile marker 150 a short
Well,
time ago.
speaking of presidents that would have possibly been the forum, Will Carpenter mentioned that Eisenhower would be banned from the forum.
Why?
I don't know.
Eisenhower helped things get done. So.
Yeah.
Eisenhower
made sure the trains run on time.
Well, they don't call it the Eisenhower Interstate system for nothing. mean, it's, he had a lot to do with it. You guys, you guys know the backstory there about Eisenhower being inspired to build something like what we have in the U.S.
It's
right?
basically what he saw, basically during World War II.
Supposedly,
yeah.
Yeah, he had to slog all the way across northern France, and then he hit the German border, and he was like, "Oh wow, 4-lane freeways."
Yeah.
no lie. There has been some dispute that that's actually what happened with him. That it may not have been quite as bad as all that, but it became a convenient. It's not a great road system anyway. So
I mean, it's 1930s construction, so it's not like what you see on the screen here.
Right.
But compared to what was around it further west, it was pretty damn modern, pretty damn ahead of its time.
Mm.
So he basically came back from the war having seen that stuff, and he's like, I want that for our country.
Yeah.
And he had, and that wasn't really the first time that he had these ideas about how to improve the national highway system. Of course, he was from Kansas originally, and he was used to like the dirt and wagon roads out in Kansas. And so when he was navigating around with his, army pals in World War I even, he was coming across brigades getting stuck in the mud and all that stuff. And even back
it also should be
back in that
here.
time, he was advocating for improved roads and stuff like that.
It also should be noted here that Eisenhower didn't actually create the concept of the interstate system. There were proposals for a national system of superhighways, going back to like the 30s even.
Right.
But it wasn't until under the Eisenhower administration that it went from talk to action.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's what.
So that's the key there with Eisenhower.
Eisenhower and I-70, his home and presidential museum is in Abilene, Kansas, which is actually along I-70.
About 600 miles east of where we are in this video right now.
Not quite.
Not quite in the Rockies.
Not quite to Topeka either.
Well, Abilene is between Topeka and Salina.
Yeah,
The Kansas Salina, not the Utah one.
Yeah. My grandparents actually got married in Salina, Kansas.
Yeah, which is only a few miles away from Denver International Airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at DIA today.
Was that the other DIA?
Yeah. Dutch's Institute of Art.
That is the only DIA, but I don't know what other one you're talking about.
Well, yeah. I mean, the FAA code is DEN, but
yes,
but the
people do abbreviate it as DIA, but
and they're
for
incorrect.
Some reason. Yes, they are.
But if you're in Denver, if you call it DIA, people know what you're referring to at least. I think.
Dead in arrival.
Yeah.
Was DIA wasn't the code for Stapleton, was it?
No.
Okay.
DEN was.
Yeah, I think
Oh, no,
DIA
it was
was.
DEN?
Because the current Denver International Airport replaced Stapleton, and Stapleton was closed when the current airport opened. So they,
Yes, I think DIA was the original code that they were, at least when it was being constructed, they were going to be using for the new airport.
Yeah, maybe that could have been its working title or something. But
another thing too here, right, is that it is typical for like the first three letters of a city to be an airport code. But there are cases where the airport was replaced where that didn't carry over. Like for example, Houston. HOU is Houston Hobby.
Yes.
Right.
Houston Intercontinental is IA8 because that's the newer, bigger airport, but the old airport is still there.
Yeah.
In Denver, the old airport is not still there. They closed it when they opened the new one.
Mm-hmm. I think this topic will come up again towards the end of this video. Just a little teaser. Yeah, so people in Denver call it DIA when it's wrong. It's DEN. And then people in Kansas City, this is one that drives me nuts. Kansas City, they call it KCI, which it is not.
MCI.
MCI.
They go beyond the call?
That airport. That was
I think it was.
But yeah, no, MCI, was, some of you may also recall being the name of a phone company. I think is what Doug is attempting to allude to.
Oh,
yeah,
that's very much
that's
the
what I'm
commercial.
trying, yeah.
That's very much the commercial I remember.
Phones down, belts on.
And then your favorite type of cheese is also your favorite type of telephone. Baby bells.
Okay.
I was about to be like, mozzarella? What?
I would say the next very scenic stretch of this highway is going to be Vail Pass, which is coming up in about 30 miles. We passed exit 163 just back there. So I'll save some of the discussion for a little while from now, but you'll see how, these highways follow the path of least resistance, and in a lot of cases they're just following the canyons. And we'll see another example of this as we get closer to Denver even.
That's a long way from New York, that Toyota.
Well, it also makes sense from the perspective of, if there's going to be towns, people need water, so the towns are likely going to be along the river too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's a natural travel path. I mean, right, and these things evolve for a reason because, before anything's improved, because travelers need water, they hike along the river,
Right.
with their horses and their stagecoaches and whatever.
Right.
They
And
wear
where
a
the winter
trail.
they ski.
And then eventually someone says, "Well, let's build a railroad here," and then the days of the automobile come. The old trail gets paved, and now it's a road. And then someone says, "Well, let's build an interstate."
Yep. And then the skiers and riders come and build ski areas. Which Vail is a ski area, and there's another one that's right off of 70 as well.
Yeah, once we get to Vail, we're starting to get into the real ski country.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a sign earlier for Steamboat Springs, which is also another Colorado.
But not on I-70.
That's not on I-70, it's on I-40. But we did see for Highway 131 that takes you up, towards Steamboat Springs, which is another ski area. And also with that in mind,
Steamboat Springs also has metric speed limit signs.
yep, and
Yeah,
Hot Springs.
Hot Springs.
Hot Springs, yeah. Hot Springs.
Cold springs, we all spring fresh.
I was in Cold Spring today.
Was it cold?
No, it was
It's probably a
mild
little,
for December.
Well,
Oh, I did see a sign for a Beaver Creek ski area.
Yes. And I can see Beaver Creek on the
it
left.
got up to, 55 degrees here?
Something like that, yeah.
It
Well,
is.
No,
it
it's
is
only about 13,
it is-
honestly.
13. It is December 10th, isn't it? I gotta double check.
Yeah.
It's fall. It's not winter yet.
Although I just got an email for wassailing, apparently.
Ooh.
For what now?
Wassailing.
Isn't that your name, Doug Wassel?
No. Wassailing at the Little Orchard. I think it's a Little Apple Orchard. They make hard cider. And they're in Hillsdale, New York. It's on January 13th.
Is Hillsdale the one near you or near me? So I'm
It's
thinking
where
of
22 and 23 be.
So I'm thinking of Hilburn. So
No, it's in Columbia County. So it's closer to me.
means I'll have to come up in Wassel.
Actually, I don't think I've ever wassailed before.
I haven't either because I'm Jewish, but I've wassailed before. Once I somehow got involved with the group once, and I remember very much convincing them to do a couple of Hebrew songs and not just all Christian songs.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
But it's on January 13th, so maybe they
Yes.
just wassail Christmas songs. Maybe they just do like secular
I
songs.
wonder if Cullen is listening right now. If you'd like to chime in here.
You got his phone number? You gonna call him up?
Hey, Cullen, we're talking about you.
Hey, we're live on TV. Or don't even tell him that. Just
Driving
like
past the east entrance of Avon.
Yeah.
The town has two exits, so to distinguish them. This one signed as Avon East entrance.
Well, Lions are about to lose to the Bears.
Oh my!
No, the Tigers aren't playing right now.
2 out of 3.
You got the Bagels. They're kind of Tigers.
I'll see if Cullen gets back to me. Get him in here as a guest.
Yep.
call him up.
Speakerphone.
Crossing the Eagle River again.
Yeah, we could be like a sports talk station. Like if you want to, let's take a call here. Let's go to Rob in Greenwich. What's up, Rob?
We're Jets fans right now. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, we could do a Jets post game show impromptu right now if you want.
No.
No?
I'm angry that my team won and they're just ruining their draft pick.
Yeah, but that's what the Jets do, though.
It's true.
They win.
When they're bad, they're just good enough to be bad at being bad.
It's like even when they go 2-14, they should have gone 0-16 that year, and they would have drafted Trevor Lawrence. You know?
Yeah, so we're coming up on the western terminus of US 24.
Yes.
With a shield that's a little bit peeling.
And thing is, with US 24, at least in this part of Colorado, goes through is the highest town or highest city in the U.S. in the continental U.S.
Is that where all the weed dispensaries are?
No, it's Leadville, Colorado.
Which is over 10,000 feet.
Yeah, I've actually been there.
I have to say, just now we saw a very wonderful example of how the mountains are formed. You saw the rock formations pushing up with the mountain heading east. So it's clear that's the way the plates were gliding here. And that scenery, the fact that the rock pokes through all these cliffs facing I-70 makes this one of the unforgettable roads in our country.
It's home of the National Mining Museum. No, Leadville, Colorado is at 10,158 feet, or for the rest of the world, which is not us, and it's 3,096 meters above sea level.
There we go again. Now we can see. You can see how over time the push-up of the rock has gotten shifted and different. As plates come together, it starts to fracture and slide. So, I'm someone I don't know that much about rock formations, but I find when they're exposed like this, you can trace each level in our geologic history, and you can see X millions of years back when there's that layer and trace it up and down the mountain. It's utterly fascinating right now to watch this.
Yeah, no, I mean there are places they don't have them here, but I've seen places where they put up signs along the side of the road where they actually mention the age of the different layers of rock that you're seeing next to you.
Yeah, so we're coming into Vail now, which I know that Dan was alluding to earlier. That it's Vail Pass is Scenic, and of course Vail. If you're like
over touristy.
Me, basically the first thing you think of when you think of Vail is skiing, which I don't ski, but that's the first thing I think of when I think of Vail.
But it is a service you can avail yourself of there.
When I think of Vail, I think of a nice beverage to drink. When I think of Vail.
Is it Vail with a V?
You said think of Vail. I'm thinking of Vail right now.
Ale's not bad either.
Yeah.
Alps Roads.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to do that. Thank you.
They could put up that Watch for Wildlife VMS for like the next
100 miles.
100.
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
100 miles
it's
or
a
so.
message to leave sitting there when you don't have something else to show, and
You don't have a snarky like Christmas.
Make the taxpayers' money worthwhile spent on the sign.
They need to get
being left
They need to get Del Dot involved and have them come up with some creative slogans. Although NJDOT had a couple of good ones I saw when I was driving home this morning.
Yeah, and apparently they've decided that even though they got yelled at to stop before, enough time has passed that they're going to just start again.
Yeah, and you know what? Good for them.
It has definitely been getting better and better again. It's good to see. It was unexpected to start to see them go that route again, but more power.
Yeah, the one that I saw this morning was, what was it? Only Rudolph can be lit. Drive drunk, get DUI.
Okay.
Rudolph the dead drunk reindeer. He would have a very shiny nose if he's been drinking a lot. So.
Well, people think he has a shiny nose. I wonder why, because they're all falling over themselves.
I mean, one of the reindeers is Blitzen. And then the other one somehow did not get eaten at Donner Pass.
I'll pass on that one.
Yeah, that's the sequel to that story that they don't tell you, is that after Christmas, Donner got eaten.
Well, I think also that Donner also is an Anglicanization. The original name was Donder.
Oh yeah.
Well, they're all German names.
I
They're
remember.
roots,
Actually, no, I think
right?
Donder was the original. No, so the original name actually was Dunder, Dunder and Blitzen, Thunder and Lightning.
Oh.
Instead of Dunder and Mifflin.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
That's where that came from then.
but because it was German, people in English started saying Donder, and then it just became Donner.
Yeah.
So Santa's Workshop is in Scranton, you're saying?
Yes.
It's actually an Anglicization of a Scantron. It's originally the town.
I mean, that's kind of what I call it. Sometimes it's Scantron.
Back to the show.
Anyway, what do you want to talk about with I-70? You want to talk about I-70 or you wanna...
Let's talk about.
When was this filmed?
This was June of 22,
Okay.
and then like within Denver Metro, most of what you'll see was from August of 23.
Okay.
Yeah, because originally when I did this drive, the Central 70 tunnel was not fully complete yet. They had one half of it open, but not the other. So what you'll see in this drive is the fully completed project, which we'll talk about in about 100 miles from now. And another watch for Dewey's sign, too.
Chain law enforced when flashing. I don't think they actually enforce it that hard, though.
They might.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know like what the level of enforcement in Colorado is versus, say, California.
I don't think nobody enforces chain laws like California does. But
They are the poster children for that, right? Those CHP dudes.
Yep, so we'll be passing more ski areas along 70. Vail is, one of the best
So-
known
so when
ones.
that person is not putting chains on their tires, so they're illegally
What
parked.
month were you here?
What'd you say?
What month were you there?
This is early June.
Early June, so that's where the snow is on the mountains in early June.
Yeah, so quick side story. So when I was out here, this was my first time out in Colorado, and it was at the end of May, early June, like right around June 1st. And my trip west on 70 to Utah was delayed by a day because they had heavy snow squalls out in the Vail and Loveland area. So yeah, I was like, well, I got an extra day here in Denver, so I decided I just moved some stuff around that I would have done later in the trip. I did earlier in the trip, but yeah, I thought I might have been in the clear for snow, but no, on May 31st, we got a significant snow event out in the mountains, which, by the way, is not that uncommon. That you get snow that late in the season.
Well, I've been in Colorado, Wyoming, in October a few times, and I've either basically beat the snow by a day or missed the snow by a day on more than one occasion. Like in the middle of October. So basically the snow window is very wide in the Rockies.
I think, isn't it true that the snowiest month of the year in Denver is March?
Probably.
Lousy smart
Which
weather.
I think...
It is lousy March weather, that's right.
Yeah. But that kind of goes to show how elongated the winter can be out that way. Especially that's just Denver I'm talking about. If you're talking about the mountains west of there, it goes even longer than that.
Right, well, it gets very elevation dependent, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And Denver is, basically the weather can fluctuate quite a lot. Like, you can get very snowy days, but like the next day might be like 60 degrees.
Yeah, that's
Very easily.
right. Yeah. Yeah, Denver's such a weird place weather-wise, because it's like it straddles that line between the mountain climate and then you have the high plains climate. And of course, Denver's technically in the high plains. And we'll talk more about this next week. But it is interesting how you have these two regions that come together right where the city is, and of course that creates all sorts of changes and contrasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, so now we're heading up towards Vail Summit, which is the second highest summit on I-70.
Yeah, so what I was alluding to before was that when they were studying the alignment of 70 in the area of Vail and Vail Pass, they looked into different options the one that they chose is just your typical mountain pass highway. But there were proposals to, as it starts to rain a little bit here. Actually, you know
It's
what?
been raining all day here.
Yeah. So as we go up the summit here, by the way, you will see snowflakes flying in the air. Even in early June.
Those poor liberals.
Yeah. We will not be making this a political show. Although you know what, that might actually make for better life entertainment. But we will try not to do that tonight.
We're still not enforcing the chain law.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was snowing a little bit on Vail Pass, but they did look into various different tunnel options, similar to the pass that we will cross over about 50 miles from now. This would have, unfortunately for engineers, required easements through federal forest land, and that was just a non-starter.
Mm-hmm.
So they ended up just routing it around the nationally protected wildlife areas, and you've got basically the alignment that you see today as a result of that. It's a much longer alignment than what was planned. I think the tunnel alignment would have been about 10 miles shorter than what we have today.
What would have been? How long would the tunnel have been?
You're talking probably along the lengths of the Eisenhower Tunnel.
Okay, it's not
Something
terrible.
like that. No, not, you know.
Yeah, raise it up to the peak, tunnel to peak, and back down. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the other thing here too, right, is that you have this routing over the summit because the Eagle River has a much more pronounced jog to it, so it makes it right. It was
All right, I see. You're talking about this goes south to Copper Mountain and back up again instead of just going straight across.
Yes.
Yeah.
Copper Mountain's another ski area that's right off of 70.
I see what you got.
In Copper Mountain, because of where they built this highway, it ended up being a pretty significant crossroads in this part of the Rockies. So when we reach that's where Highway 91 comes in.
Yeah, and then Highway 91's the other way down to Leadville.
Right.
If they had actually gone with that alignment to 70, I wonder if 6 would have gone down to Copper Mountain and back up, and that would have become another 10 miles of US 60 to drive. Or if they would just latch it onto 70 there and say forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because as you may have noticed by now, 70 through this part of Colorado follows the old alignment of US 6 by and large, between, say, Grand Junction and Denver.
And Colorado DOT, they basically will put end signs up for US 6, basically where it goes on to 70. So technically, US 6 kind of has a break in the action here.
Well, it's also worth noting.
I didn't notice that. Is that true? That there are N6?
I've heard that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It actually is worth noting that this routing over Vail Summit wasn't actually even original to the U.S. highway system because that road didn't exist in 1926. Originally, if you were heading through here, you actually had to go down to Leadville and then back up.
But instead, we have this nice road through the Vail Summit, and it is very nice. It is very scenic.
Yeah, I think that Vail Pass gets forgotten about because of the stuff that's around it. It's got Glenwood Canyon to the west, and it's got the Eisenhower Summit to the east. So it's the one in the middle. So it's the one that people don't really think about that much. But this is a very fine drive in its own right.
You can see the snow coming right up to the road now at this point, basically.
Yeah.
Is that snow or is it just very fat rain?
On the ground is snow.
Oh.
Yeah, that white stuff on the ground is snow.
Cullen regrets that he is unable to join us for this podcast.
What's he doing that's more important than this? Can't be
He said he's moving poop into a truck shortly. Although I am using a euphemism for the word poop, so it may be something else.
Well,
he's working right now.
Yes.
He's a trucker.
So what you're saying is he's working on the AARoads Wiki.
All the live long day.
Is that what that's code for?
I doubt it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Although that's
we should talk about that for a second because
Yeah.
that's been in the news recently.
Yeah, there's an article about. I guess AARoads has a wiki now, and I guess there was a.
There was an article in Slate
Yeah.
interviewing someone who's involved in it.
Yeah. And I'm not sure that article gives it a good look.
No, it does. They just took what they
Well, they only
found the
interviewed
guy's
one
TikTok
person.
and they interviewed the one guy.
Well, I
pretty
mean,
lazy.
there are different directions that I could go with how I arrived at my opinion on it. I think that picking the one person that they did was a mistake. Picking one person in general was a mistake. I'm not trying to be mean, but certain people should not be the spokespersons for road enthusiasm. I don't think. And I'm referring to the TikTok video.
Yeah.
Which I did watch. Doug sent me the link, or maybe it was Adam who did. Somebody did. So I watched that, and I'm like, yeah, that's not a good look for. If you're trying to sell your point, that's not exactly the route that I would go.
Yeah. Well, my
and as a result, I mean that video compared to here's some snowflakes.
There you go. There they are.
The that video got like 800,000 hits or something like that.
Yeah.
Considering that it's a road enthusiast video, it blew up.
Yeah. Well, I think too.
know.
It's basically TikTok's algorithm is different than what I deal with on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, what happened, of course, is that a lot of people, had this video put, just thrown in whatever there's, it's not a timeline, but shown to them, and they're like, and people are like, hey, this is a quirky form of drama that I'm not used to encountering.
Because everybody loves drama, right?
They do,
Everybody
yeah.
loves scuttlebutt.
No, and I think that's why it gets attention, because people do love drama.
Yeah.
Well, I've been around road enthusiasm long enough to know that.
I mean, look at the Kardashians.
Yeah, well,
We used to, now we don't really.
Yeah. I mean, they are hard to miss.
It's funny, we're looking at snow in, you said early June, right?
this would have been like June 3rd or something like that.
I get
Yeah.
to see really any snow here in December, and here we are in June up there.
Are you jealous?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw snow last week a couple times. So
You're north, I'm south. Global warming.
Doug is in the higher elevations of the Capital District metro area.
I'm only about 350 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
I'm higher than you are. Wow. But you are north of where the Hudson stops being a tidal estuary.
Just about where it is, because it's just north of the Collar City Bridge in Troy.
Oh, okay.
The
That's right.
federal lock and dam. About a mile north of there, so actually I think I am technically.
Yeah, you were south of that.
Well, we'll
technically
need to.
south, but not by much.
We'll need a coach's challenge here to review where he is in latitude.
Come on.
What do you see, Ruff?
We keep due north.
Oh.
But yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention about the AARoads Wiki thing is that
Oh yeah, you're south.
it's like if you're gonna break away and do your own thing, then do your own thing. Like, don't copy what is already on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It's like, make it your own thing. Don't. What are you just copying and pasting things over for?
Well, I think the intent
You
from
know.
that is to save content that Wikipedia was likely going to end up deleting at some point.
Right.
Which is
so
now
they-
everything.
The intent was specifically to preserve that content.
and then work on like the formatting and visual effects later.
Yeah, the last we've heard is they may be
Maybe.
getting rid of highways that are not notable. Instead of Wikipedia being a center for storing factual information, it's fast becoming a storing what we feel like and no longer really a public repository. So I don't blame people for starting their own wikis that actually will encourage people to add factual content instead of only encouraging what they want.
Yeah. And the thing with having, let's say, AARoads as opposed to, let's say, their own site is AARoads, the website, is a known commodity in the hobby, basically. And, a lot of people go there for, the forum or, general highway information. So it is something where, basically it's a destination already. So having it there as opposed to, let's say, its own website, will get more
I mean,
get
it's
more
also
hits.
just a host of convenience. It's like, all right, fine, if we can put it on this existing website, that's less effort than creating a whole new one. So here you go.
Yeah, well, another thing,
Especially since this someone who is involved in it is already an AARoads admin. So
yeah, well, that was it's an easy decision. But another thing too is if you look at the UK, like the CBER website, which is essentially the British version of AARoads.
the Society of All British Road Enthusiasts,
Although they include Ireland.
which acronyms out to the British spelling of the word saber.
Yeah, or the Buffalo Sabre, same spelling.
That's true.
But they've had their own wiki on that website for a number of years, and
Last chance before I make these disappear. Okay.
and they have their own version of road meets in the UK, and they call them away days.
They're called away days?
Away days. Yes.
Away days.
Away
Oh, they
days.
will.
All right.
Just not in that corner.
That is a very British way of saying, oh, we're going to go out and look at interchanges.
We'll have an away day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that's something at least in road enthusiasm, is something where an independent roads wiki has existed already in some form. So I mean to me it makes sense having it that way. And you're in the Copper Mountain area right now, so you might see a ski area again.
Yeah, so this is what we were talking about a few minutes ago with Highway 91 coming in from the south.
Yeah.
That's, if you're coming from the east, that's kind of how you would cut south
Yeah.
towards, I guess, it ties into US 24 down that way,
Yeah,
I think.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
Well, right. Well, because before the road over Vail Summit was built, that was the way traffic had to travel.
Okay.
Yeah.
75 miles from Denver. If you're joining us late, I would say, first of all, I'm sorry. And second of all, I would say, welcome into our first show of winter. I did a soft opening, I guess it was about a month ago. I did a virtual tour with my buddy Jason down in New Orleans, and we did a tour of I-10 across the mountain ranges of Louisiana. And you can watch that and all of our other past content going back to 2019. That's when we did our first one. And there's a virtual tours playlist on my channel, and you can also find the webinars playlist where you'll find all of our other live content from the last few years.
And it's ever expanding, so you'll always there's a chance you'll always find new material to watch.
You might someday find the city that you're looking for.
Tokyo?
Well,
Maybe.
I'm running out of places to see in this country.
I vote
So-
for a road meet in Japan.
That has come up before, hasn't it?
As it should.
It's I mean,
Yes, I think that there was someone proposed to go to Japan in 2020, and well, okay, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
we know why that didn't happen.
Well, I'm
There's
waiting.
a
I'm
lot
waiting. I'm waiting for motorway whiz.
Motorway whiz.
Oh, boy.
So you can also see as we're getting further east here, the traffic count is really starting to pick up. You get into these mountains, you start getting close enough to Denver. It's a interesting situation where there in a lot of places really would be a warrant for widening to 6 lanes, but with the mountains, that is not only very physically difficult to do. With it being Colorado, there is also a lot of political iffiness on adding lanes to roads.
Yeah.
Being
Well,
where it is in the mountains.
Unless they're toll lanes,
Right, which they did
which
do in one place.
which we'll talk about. Yep.
And I've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
shoulder lanes too on I-70. I know westbound, going up towards Idaho Springs, they have shoulder lanes.
Yeah, it's part-time running in the left shoulder, and in that case, it's like, yeah, all right, it's basically just the left shoulder, and they allow you to run on it sometimes. It's not. It is only open during peak travel hours in that direction, and having driven that section of road, I can understand why. It's not actually really a proper widening. It's they really shoehorn just a little bit of extra pavement width in there to get it.
And here, trucks are what they are. I doubt there's many trucks getting on, but every every time you have an interchange, are people heading west or east, honestly. So it's just always adding traffic this way.
Yep, and that's why you have the I-70 Things Instagram account, which is they kind of say I was mentioning this earlier. They pinpoint the good, bad, and ugly of I-70, but more so in this stretch of I-70 in Colorado than other parts of the state. Oh, we're near Breckenridge, another ski area.
I also note that if you want to do this westbound, once you get through the initial Eisenhower Tunnel, you can see on the other side.
It's all downhill from there.
Yeah, it's really the traffic on that side is trying to get onto the highway in Denver. So once you're past the choke point, which is 2 uphill lanes, everything after that clears out. Whereas here, there's always a new choke point at every interchange as more traffic comes on. So I think it's an easier ride westbound, but I am biased.
It could be that. I mean, you do have to fight your way past Idaho Springs and past Loveland, and past here, for instance. But
it didn't feel like a fight. Westbound, it never felt like there was a worse case than coming out of Denver.
It does also depend on when you try to do it.
Oh yeah.
I would like a cookie.
Is that going to throw one at
Would
you?
would you like one thrown
pass
at
it
you?
over.
That's our holiday next year. This is Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, there we go.
South to Frisco, which is
An actual Frisco.
right. Well, there's a couple of actual Friscos. Texas also has one.
The
This
most famous one
this
is in
Frisco
California.
does not have a minor league baseball stadium though. Actually, it might not have any baseball stadium in Frisco, Colorado.
That's a rough ride then.
These Friscos are okay with being called Frisco.
Well, yes.
And you're outside, so you're al fresco.
Hey. I don't think anyone really. This is like, referring to San Francisco as Frisco seems dated. Like, does people still do that?
It came from a movie at some point. Yeah, it doesn't really happen anymore.
Yeah, like I would, when I refer to as San Fran a lot over the
Right.
years.
And when I was younger, Frisco was used a bit more, and I actually used it once, somewhat intentionally, but knowing it wasn't the. But no, I haven't heard it called that in a long time.
I think the Notorious B.I.G. on one of his songs he refers to San Francisco as Frisco. He was sipping Crisco with some fruits from Frisco.
All right.
He's going back to Cali.
Okay.
Okay.
Cali's got gunplay models on the roadway. Screaming Biggie, Biggie, give me one more chance.
I think we should play some music for people.
He wasn't zipping down I-70 the NYC way, though.
No.
So he mentions in the song he was zipping down the freeway the NYC way, of course.
Which is an interesting mashing
It
of terms.
It rhymes. It's a rap.
More destruction ongoing here. This is just simple rehab work, though. There's nothing,
I don't know. Yeah.
major occurring. It's just, roads wear out, and every so often you got to rebuild them and keep them
Yeah,
there.
this is again, when I drove this, it was like 2019 or whatever. Westbound did not have pavement problems, so it's something to see how bad this looks. And I drove it. The eastern part I drove several years ago, but the body of it I drove, like the Glenwood Canyon part, was 2019. And this is consistently bad. So this must be the trucks just wearing this out after a few years.
Silverthorne and Dillon coming up, which interesting. So the
Oh, Dylan should be on this. Let me give him a call.
Yeah, call him up, man.
No, he would want to get on the air, I think.
I'm not.
The highest elevation chain hotel in the country is in Leadville, and it's a Choice Hotels brand. But Silverthorne and Dillon are where the highest Wyndham, highest Hilton, and possibly also the highest of one or other
And
other
probably
chains
the highest
are
outlet
in
center as
Silverthorne.
well.
Highest what?
Highest outlet center. We just passed by an outlet center.
Oh, well, yeah, that's good chance.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're starting to get into prime tourist areas.
Yeah, so
makes
6
sense.
splits off here and goes over Loveland Pass at this point.
Yeah, which we saw as part of the Denver/Front Range meet in 2015.
Yeah, we should. I do want to give an honorable shout out to that because that's the most recent Denver meet that we've had.
There was one earlier. I don't remember the year, but it was at least 10 years prior to that.
I think there might have been 2 Denver meets. One in
Yeah.
03 and one in 04.
And they were looking at things more in Denver.
Yeah, it was very Denver centric, whereas
Yeah.
this kind of wandered much further west.
Well, went into the mountains, and it actually there was an intention to take everyone up to the top of Mount Evans, and we weren't able to do that because it wasn't open for the year yet.
Ah,
So that is why Loveland Pass ended up in the meat tour instead.
that is of all the meet photos, and I've looked through almost 250 of them over the last couple of months, but that is one of my favorite ones.
It is definitely
the,
the highest elevation meat photo, and
Yeah.
there was some discussion about this. But even the lunch for that road meet may be the highest elevation road meet lunch that there's been, simply because nobody has had a road meet in somewhere like Santa Fe or Cheyenne, where it would be higher than.
Although, if I
Not
do have a
Golden.
Cheyenne meet, I found a nice restaurant to have it right downtown. And they have all these old, well, not necessarily old road signs, but old signs, Sanford's.
You said Cheyenne?
Cheyenne, Wyoming, yeah.
Oh.
So drive 180 and what else?
You drive out towards Laramie, and you can see Abraham Lincoln's head in stone.
You
Yeah,
can,
that's
you
not
can
bad.
see if the locomotive from Shining Time Station is there.
Let's go.
Oh, we got to do this now.
apparently the locomotive from Shining, from the credits of Shining Time Station, the big long train in the credits, that locomotive, its home base is in the Union Pacific Yard in Cheyenne, but it's not always there
Oh.
because they do take it other places.
I've never seen this show in my life.
No, but I do know the show he's talking about. Yeah, so we are ascending again.
Silverthorne also has the highest target in the nation.
There you go.
Well, there's
So is that who we should be protecting from Palestine and/or Israel?
Silverthorne, Colorado?
So you said it's a target point, so.
Target the store.
Oh, okay.
Headquartered in Minnesota.
Hey, I named both. I didn't take sides there, so.
living dangerously, I see, Mr. Albert.
Quite.
So we are ascending in elevation once more, in case you haven't noticed. And we're getting up towards the highest elevation point, not just on I-70, but on the entire interstate system. And while we have a moment here, I will tell you about the Eisenhower and Johnson tunnels. Built predominantly in the 1970s, the first tunnel was opened in, I believe the westbound tube was first, opened in 1973. And let me get my notes together here. Yeah, the Eisenhower bore opened in 73, and the second bore, named for Colorado Governor and U.S. Senator Edwin Johnson, opened in 1979. The tunnels cross the Continental Divide in the Rockies at an average elevation of 11,112 feet. It is the highest point on the interstate highway system. And the tunnels.
All this is going up is for because even Dillon over there is under 10,000 feet. It's 9,000 and change.
I'll ask him where he is right now.
But that's still enough to be the location of the highest example of several things.
The two bores are situated about 120 feet apart. Each bore is about 1.7 miles altogether. So they are among the longest road tunnels on the interstate system.
Longer than the Holland Tunnel.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, Holland's not little. Actually, Holland's about a little over 1.5 because they have in tile the the mile markers on the side, which I learned when stuck in traffic, and they're actually close to that length, so longer than I thought they were.
Yeah, and the tunnels are built on a grade of about 1.6%.
Yep. Oh, you need tunnels to be built on a grade drainage if they're going to be exposed like this.
That's true.
But you can crown them in the middle. One end doesn't have to be higher than the other.
Right, but yeah, but you don't want a tunnel to run flat for extended periods. It can drain to each side, but
I mean, if you're in Illinois, it's okay, but
yeah.
Well, this is something that's actually been noted with the abandoned Pennsylvania Turnpike tunnels. If you go into the longer one of the two in the east of Breezewood section,
Yes.
the Sidling Hill one, when you walk into it, you actually can't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet because the tunnel is crowned.
It is.
You have to walk in a bit before you can start to see the other end.
Or bike.
Or yes,
bike.
Sure.
It is non-zero times been driven also, but you have to arrange that.
I think which tunnel is the one that's used as a wind tunnel facility?
That was Laurel Hill.
Laurel Hill. Okay.
So that's not the one on the abandoned turnpike. That's the other one, right?
Well,
The two on the abandoned section that near Breezewood that you can walk or bike through are Sidling Hill and Race Hill.
Yeah, Laurel's the other one that you can see from one end from the turnpike, but you really can't get to it. It's closed off.
yeah, it's not part of the abandoned
Yeah,
turnpike.
of course, all of the interesting stuff that you can see is on the other end. It's not the end you can see.
Yeah, I visited the abandoned turnpike well before it got graffitied all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, there was at least
sad to hear that it is. But
there was at least one swip of meat out that way.
Yeah,
right?
I went to that
So-
one.
And here is the entrance to the tunnel.
I just
Yep.
want to point out that right there you had traffic signals and a median opening. So if they had to close one of the bores, that's what those would be there for. To
Yeah.
get traffic together, so you could still run one lane each way.
I think they do have similar setups at the PA Turnpike
They do.
Yeah.
tunnels, right?
But they don't have traffic lights. This traffic signal here is unique because if there's something that shuts it down, they're going to stop everyone at the traffic light and turn you around there, I guess.
I guess. Or they'll hold traffic if there's a wide vehicle
Yeah.
or something.
Actually,
like that.
another reason for that is because the Loveland Pass, which is the parallel alignment of US 6 that still exists, and in spite of being almost 12,000 feet up, is actually kept open year round to the degree that it possibly can be. And the reason for that is because in the United States we do not like letting vehicles that are carrying hazardous materials go through tunnels,
Yep.
and so
Ooh.
if Loveland Pass were not kept open year round, vehicles carrying hazardous cargo would be rather lacking in routes across the Rockies for quite a long distance, so they're going to have to keep it open. However, they can't always keep it open. Sometimes, even in winter, if there's a bad storm going on, they're going to close it. And what they do then is they then close off the Eisenhower Tunnel or the Johnson Tunnel for the eastbound direction periodically to allow hazmats too. So that's another reason those signals are there is because if it's in the middle of one of those storm closures of Loveland Pass and they have a hazmat vehicle they need to allow through the tunnel, they will turn those lights red and they will stop all traffic because that's the one thing that they're going to do is that they if the hazmat does have to go through the tunnel, they're gonna have it go through alone with no other vehicles, and that is an acceptable solution because. So here's the thing. The big problem with hazmats and tunnels isn't that it would threaten to compromise the structural integrity of the tunnel itself. The tunnel is a hole in the rock. It can take a lot. But the issue is that if you have a big fire in an enclosed space like that, the smoke's gonna quickly overwhelm things, and anyone else who's in any other vehicles nearby, it is very much threatened by that. So this is why they want it to go through alone. So this way, if it crashes and catches fire, at least there's nobody else in there to die from the smoke.
Yeah, but we've learned that fire can melt steel beams.
Well, it's all downhill from here.
Yes.
It is all downhill from here.
Actually,
yeah.
it's not all downhill from here, but it is net downhill from here.
Yeah. Somewhere from our peak of just over 11,000 feet, we have to descend about 6,000 feet to get from here to Denver. That'll be our net elevation loss.
And then it'll be all flat from there until you hit Illinois, where there's more mountain peaks.
The great Lincoln Range of
Yes.
Springfield, Illinois.
The Sangamon Mountains.
Yeah, Sconson mentions in the chat that there's a similar signalized setup at the H3 tunnel in Hawaii, and that makes sense too, because the other tunnels on the Pali Highway and the Wilson tunnels, they do not allow hazmats, whereas the H3 tunnel is to interstate standard, and of course it goes right to the base there, so...
You could route them around the island in that case.
Yeah, right. There are alternative. You would either have to go around the east end of the island, or you would have to go, north around from H2, which the around from H2 is long. Around the east end is less long, but it's still nice to not have to do that detour.
Yeah. So we're about at mile marker 220. So we're about 40 miles from Denver Metro at this point.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions or things that they would like us to address,
now's a good time.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a pause in the action here.
And I
for
know,
about 20
the
miles.
traffic going the other way. As I said, heading west, that tunnel is the choke point.
Well, because especially with everyone trying to get, go uphill.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Once you're through the tunnel, it is clear sailing west. East, it looks like we're clear sailing past the tunnel also. So now you've learned, never do the Eisenhower tunnels.
There's no need to do them when you can do them virtually by
Yeah.
being a subscriber to my channel. And I do
think
have. This reminds me, I should bring this up now
And
that
we
we're
also have
mentioning
cookies.
this. One of the new things on my channel is channel memberships. So you can
saw
give
that.
yourself the gift of channel memberships, and you can get sort of access to behind the scenes content. There are two levels of membership.
Like
There's
you can have a Mr. Angry icon.
Yeah, you can have your own custom Mr. Angry emoji that you can use in the
Yes.
live chat. Yeah. So the $2 level a month gives you access to all my videos when they are scheduled. So this can be like a month before they become available to the public. So you can watch those upwards of a month or maybe even 2 in advance. So for right now, stuff that is publicly viewable, if you're a member, is scheduled for release in like as far out as the first week of January. So you can kind of cheat a little bit and see what I've got coming up down the line. The other level is the $5 a month level, and that is you get your early access stuff, and then you also are going to have access to members only content. And in fact, I published my first members only content today, in fact, and there's going to be a bunch more of that stuff. I actually have a few ideas for what I'd like to do with that.
If it's members only, do we get our own jacket?
I've not come
You
up
thought
with.
it was cool.
I don't have like members
In the 80s,
only.
It was cool.
That's when I met Katrina.
And the waves.
This is a song that mentions a member only jacket.
Yeah.
Apparently you don't know Marvelous 3.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he started it.
I heard members only. I was thinking, jacket. Yeah. Just don't go around London wearing a members a jacket that says members only. That's poor slang in the UK.
Oh, okay.
I leave that up to the imagination.
So we'll see. We'll see what we do as far as members only videos are concerned. Because one of the things I'd like to see is, if we have enough people at that level, then we could do like members only live streams, members only
Get-togethers.
Well, I mean, there's live chat options, there's live stream options of all sorts.
Dude,
One of the
that-
things I was
that's me
thinking.
anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can kind of go in any bunch of different directions with that. So that's what I unveiled recently.
We also unveiled about how many miles ago now on this video?
About 30, maybe. So yeah, if you go to the channel homepage and click on the join button, you can check out the perks and you can check out the pricing and all of that. And if that's something that you think appeals to you, you can sign up at any time and you can cancel at any time. So that's one of the good things about it. So, I'm not going to tell you how to spend your bank account funds. That's your business. But just letting you know that is out there, and it is out there as an option for you today. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm taking a bow that none of you can see.
Well, I can see it.
Well, you can see it, yeah, but the wonderful people watching this stream will not be able to see it, unfortunately.
They can visualize it. Imagine world peas.
Green giant.
Which you can see whenever there's a I-90 Minnesota virtual tour.
Speaking of green giants, the Jets scored 30 points today.
Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah. Now that Zach Wilson has been told he will be traded, apparently he's decided to start throwing touchdowns.
Yeah, I guess that news came out yesterday. There was another report.
Yep. And so now he's suddenly good at the game. That tells you something.
He's excited to go play for another team.
Yeah, well, he's using these 5 games as basically an audition.
Yes.
For some other team next year. Yeah.
And the better he does, the better the Jets get to trade him for.
So, I mean, it is in their best interest for him to play well for that reason.
But to still lose games so they can draft.
Wow.
Well,
somebody's got to tell the defense that.
Silver Plume is a teensy little town, but it is a place east of the tunnel where.
It's a place that exists.
Well, over here, east of the tunnel, you get more separation points where you can drive an old road for an exit or two and get back on again.
Yeah, like the old U.S. highway is, it appears and it disappears in the form of frontage roads in these towns. So that's kind of...
You have more opportunities to explore that versus to the west it tends to just stick on 70.
Right. Look at that power line at the top of the screen there that just goes up that mountain.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Power lines don't have grade limitations.
Well, that's true.
There's something on top of that mountain, I bet, that needs it.
Well, or it may just be that took the shortest path versus staying lower elevation.
Yeah.
That happens with power lines a lot because again they don't need to keep the hill not steep.
Yeah, and they all use helicopters nowadays to strain the wires. So.
Let's see. Georgetown. Not Delaware. Colorado.
Nope.
There we are. All right. Oh, so if it's going east, right? It could be going to Echo Lake area.
Okay.
Just trying to cut a whole corner there, not Idaho Springs, or it could be going to Idaho Springs and think some more direct ways to cut across there instead of up around with the creek. I think it's easier to just construct it at level, but. Decided to go up.
Let's check the NFL scores real quick. We talked about the Jets already. Ravens over the Rams in overtime. The Saints beat the Panthers, so the rapture has been delayed by at least 1 week in New Orleans. Bengals over the Colts. The Bucks beat the Falcons in Atlanta. That's the upset of the day so far. And Browns over the Jags. Oh, and maybe the upset of the day was Bears over the Lions. That's probably...
Oh my!
Yeah.
I have been asked by a viewer to contribute the following.
Yeah?
You're welcome, Scott.
Okay. Yeah, so the conversation comes up, and maybe this is something we could...
it's bye week for the Cardinals and the Commies.
The Commies, or the
The
football
Alaska-
team.
Footballs!
The football
Alaska
team.
Moscows? Oh, okay.
Anyway.
So this is a topic that I think we should bat around for a few minutes, because we're talking about scenic stretches of the interstate system, and I
People
think
going
that...
slowly in the left lane of them.
Well,
And
yeah,
19th century power lines to the right. Telegraph lines.
telegraph lines.
Seriously, those overheads look like they could have had telegraph lines on them at some point. Those are some pretty old wooden construction.
Yeah, you like that wood, don't you?
Yeah.
I like old telegraph lines.
The thing is that lines like that, if they actually were from the very beginning of the 20th century, likely would have been a lot lower to the ground.
No, there were, as I was saying that, some lower ones started to appear. It's something to look for out west in general. That there were stretches where they're still wired up, but you'll see them next to railroad tracks, or in this case, old paths down the river. It's the best place to spot them.
Dan had a topic he wanted to discuss.
Yeah, and it did not involve telegraph lines, unfortunately.
Does it involve roads?
It does involve roads.
Roads.
Then we could talk about it.
Okay, well, yeah, let's do it. So, favorite, most scenic stretches of the interstate system. I think we kind of have passed through maybe multiple ones of those already to this point.
Yes.
One of the folks in the chat brought up I-8 in Southern California. That's a favorite of mine. I don't know that that one. I don't know that that one comes up as often as it should.
I don't vote that among the most scenic. It's dry, and so you get a lot of rolling hills. You don't really get the cliffs. You get some, but
Have you driven it in California?
I've driven the entirety of I-8.
Okay.
And maybe
I
heading
feel like
east,
you're-
it's different as you head up from San Diego, but heading down to San Diego, it was just refreshing to see trees. I did not find it an especially scenic highway overall.
See, I actually think that that's one of my favorite parts of the whole interstate system. There's a point that you get to on 8 after you crest the mountain range there, where you're about 40 miles out from San Diego, and on a clear day you can see the city and the Pacific Ocean in the distance as you descend.
I know the point you're talking about.
Yeah, like that. To me, that's one of the great. That's one of the great money shots on the whole interstate system.
I'm partial to I-84 through the Columbia River Gorge.
It is nice.
Well, that's another good one. Yeah.
But low key, a very nice scenic stretch that doesn't get talked about much is I-80 through Nevada. Or Nevada.
It has its points.
It has its points.
Right. It's a long drive with occasional scenery, but
It has a good amount of scenery. Not as good as this, but it's if you're looking for a scenic interstate drive, it is something. It's a good honorable mention.
I mean, the first one that came to my mind is Franconia Knot, which everyone knows about.
Trucks to exit here.
Also, I-70 west of where we started in Utah has particularly stuck with me as one of the most scenic drives.
Yeah.
Because it is winding its way around rock pillars the whole way. There's always something interesting around every curve there.
Something else we discussed earlier, the toll lanes, and here you'll see with the discussion that this
the emergency stopping lanes.
Right.
Let's talk about toll lanes.
They basically just took the left shoulder, widened it a little bit, and allowed shoulder running. But as you can see, the signs all say closed right now. It is not considered the peak hours in which they will open this lane.
Yes, this is the express toll lane that's never open, or it's open like a few hours for a few days of the week.
Right. Well, I think the key here is that it isn't meant to serve. It isn't meant to serve rush hour traffic. It's meant to serve
ski area traffic.
Yeah, ski. You know, right. So it's all about the weekenders. So this right. So these lanes, they'll open it westbound Friday afternoon and eastbound like on Sunday, and that's like it.
Yeah, so this is the Mountain Express Lane project that was completed and tolling began in 2015. It runs for about 12 miles between the towns of Empire and Idaho Springs. Interesting in that it's an eastbound lane only.
That's not
as
true.
of right now.
There's westbound too.
Well, I guess I don't know what I'm looking at here. This is telling me it's
This is
eastbound.
This is eastbound. I know we're going eastbound.
Well, I know
but
it-
really have a
Well, I
westbound
figured out
so-
that part. Yeah.
There's definitely also a westbound toll lane. However,
As you can see.
Okay. Well. Well, anyway, this eastbound lane was completed in 2015, so that's what I think.
I'm wondering if you have to emergency stop, will they toll you for it?
Well, they do allow emergency stopping only. It's something where
But the toll is automatic, so if you had to stop, make an emergency stop at one of the toll points, would it charge you for that emergency stop? I think the answer is yes.
well, I think it would recognize.
Well, I think the POPO would charge you for an emergency stop by issuing you a ticket.
I
For
think
having an emergency?
I think that they would recognize that you're not supposed to be in it. That they're not gonna right. But
No, they would charge you and then you'd have to go fight it, I think. Because it's an automated system. It's going to detect you, it's going to charge you, they will send you the bill, and then you have to say this was an emergency stop.
They'll send you a bill and they'll send you a violation because you were using it when it wasn't open.
what they do on the overhead sign, it does say emergency stopping only.
Right.
So let's say if your car breaks down, and let's say if you get towed, that to me is a good enough explanation to fight it.
I just feel like I just feel like this is going to tow you if you break down. And for that matter, let's say this is open and so all three lanes right now, there's no right shoulder. If your car actually becomes disabled you actually do need to pull off into the shoulder pretty much because there's nowhere else to go. So you'd end up blocking that lane.
See, this to me is really stupid for two reasons. One is that, yes, it's a toll lane when it's open. So if you're smart enough and you know where the gantries are, there's nothing to stop you from just weaving out of the toll lane before the gantry and then just ducking back in after the gantry. Because as you see, it's just a painted line. There's nothing...
Yeah, nothing's stopping you other than the fact that Coloradans are not New Yorkers. They're more honest.
And, yes, there are cameras every so often. Like, there's one coming up here. There's a rumble strip on that yellow line, so you would be noticed. You would be noticed if you switched lanes, even if it's not at this toll gantry right here. And it would be a risk every time.
Well, I think the cameras are just there to document the vehicles that go through the transponder, isn't it? Isn't that the case?
Nope, there's a camera right there.
Is
that a toll transponder or a camera? I can't speak to exactly how they laid this out, but it's a risk.
So the thing on the pole on the right is going to be CCTV. For the toll, it'll be over the left lane.
Right.
Yeah, and then the other reason why this is stupid is that, I mean, this is a lane of real estate that is just sitting there. And you just converted it to use for a few hours a week as a cash grab, basically.
Yes.
Which to me is ridiculous.
It should be a shoulder.
I mean, they should have just left it as a shoulder lane, and then whatever.
You can see looking at it. It's not actually wide enough to be a full proper lane.
I will say that this is the third most scenic part of I-70 after Glenwood Canyon and after Utah. This whole descent here, and it's not just the descent. I mean, this whole area here is very scenic. I really enjoy this part.
Yeah.
Up and down through the mountains on both sides.
Yeah, if you take like 6 through here, you get to see some abandoned tunnels along the way and things like that too. So
I missed those. I gotta go back.
I think they were at the meet.
Okay, so I had to meet.
Well, yeah. On 6, there's only one actually abandoned tunnel. The others are all still in use.
Yeah, Idaho Springs is a pretty popular jumping on and off point.
Mm-hmm. I'll get Mount Evans. So
yeah, this is one of the main access roads to Mount Evans, which I got to drive in this past summer. And that is technically Colorado Highway Route 5, which is the highest state highway, I think, in the U.S.
Yep, because it does go up to the top of the mountain, but it ends up there, so it is not the highest through. That's where Independence Pass is not as high, but it's the highest through.
Okay.
On the state highway system.
Yeah. So we have quite a few high points. We have the highest state highway. We have the highest U.S. route, which is Loveland Pass, right? I think that's true.
No, Trail Ridge Road is higher than Loveland.
Which U.S. route is that?
It's Rocky Mountain National Park.
Yeah, 34.
Oh, 34, okay. Alright, so that's in Colorado. And we have the highest point in the interstate system, which is in Colorado, which we just drove, 30 miles back? Yeah, so if you're a road geek and you want to get high, just go to Colorado.
And listen to John Denver.
Yeah.
Yes, it's funny. After there were a lot of parents that complained about that song after it came out because they assumed it had a different meaning.
Which song are you alluding to?
Rocky Mountain High.
Yeah.
Oh.
Was Tipper Gore one of them?
I don't know.
Well,
it would have been before anyone knew who Al Gore was. So.
Not enough people ever knew who he really was. Aliens.
He was the man who warned us about Man Bear Pig on South Park.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Which is also based in Colorado.
True.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna have yourself a time. Friendly faces everywhere.
Friendly folks without
Faces?
faces.
Thanks, Kenny.
Alright, so I want to talk about a project that is just getting underway now in this stretch between Idaho Springs and the suburbs of Denver, as we're about to cross through another tunnel. This is the I-70 Floyd Hill project, which officially got underway in July of 2023. It is scheduled to last through 2028. It'll go longer than that, trust me. 70 between Idaho Springs and this stretch through the Clear Creek Canyon. It's going to involve relocating the interstate onto high-level viaducts, and like it stretches like this will be straightened and realigned.
It's going to be up there.
It'll be above us, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
They will reconfigure that interchange with US 6, where the split for 6 is on the left. In the future, it'll be on the right. So there's all sorts of geometric things that are going to be redone and addressed.
Who's paying for this?
Your tax dollars.
Only 90% of them, but
yeah. Estimated construction cost as of groundbreaking is $700 million.
Oh, it's gonna be more.
It's going to be more than that, and it's going to last longer than 2028.
Yeah.
But this is a 7-mile stretch of interstate that will be improved. One of the other things they'll be doing is we mentioned the toll lane in the eastbound direction, which is what we're looking at here. There is currently not a toll lane in the westbound direction through this stretch, and that gap will be closed. They will have a toll lane westbound. They will also be joining the different fragments of frontage roads in this stretch to make a single continuous one.
Nice.
So all sorts of different improvements are being made. Construction began, as I said, this past summer. And they're already hard at work from the pictures that I've seen recently.
Don't go here. Just watch this video and accept that this is the best you're going to get.
Well, at least for the next 6 years. So that's what you have to look forward to if you're trying to get from Denver to the ski areas. Good luck.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Rocky Mountain Refreshment.
Oh, here we go. 70.
Golden, Colorado.
Cheers!
Of course.
3 lanes of 70 exit from 6. I remember coming on 6 right there.
Yeah, this is one of the areas that'll be addressed for sure. And in fact, the rendering of this, I'm going to show Alps this, but you can't see it on the screen. But it's basically a pair of twin structures that fly over this whole thing. Yeah.
New York tried that recently. How long did it take them?
New York tried what?
The gigantic swept curves, horseshoe curves.
You're talking about down in Binghamton?
The what now?
Quite possibly.
Oh.
That would be where you had horseshoe curves.
Oh.
Well, you had kamikaze curves, so.
Yes, that's true. Which it's kind of funny that they spend all that money on that project and the curve is still basically there.
Yeah.
But it was done under the guise of safety improvement, which I guess it's better than it was.
Greatly
but
improved the curve.
I mean, it's still a curve, though. That's the thing.
Well, so is what you showed me.
No, I
This is still
understand
going to be
that,
a curve. It's just going to be improved from the current status of curvature.
My only point about the Binghamton curve is that it still occupies basically the same footprint, whereas this is going to meander a lot more, and the curve radii are going to be lengthened significantly. With that, we have started to enter the western fringes of Denver Metro.
We're actually climbing back up now too.
We are climbing back up.
Yeah, because 70 was built along the alignment of 6, following Clear Creek down to the mountains, and 6, where it branches off there, continues following Clear Creek down towards Golden, but 70 decides to meander southward and take a little bit of a different alignment, so we have to go up a bit before we start going down again.
Sounds like a Rocky Mountain Extreme.
That's not a song I know.
No, but that was that was almost what the Colorado Avalanche were named after they moved from Quebec.
It should have been called the Colorado Nordiques.
Yeah, or they should have just been called the Quebec Nordiques and stayed there.
Well, yes, they'll come back in a year or two.
Just call them the Colorado Whalers.
Well, there's a team that needs to move. There's an expansion team that needs to go to Atlanta and then fail after 10 years. And then,
jeez.
Move to
And then you can get one of their jerseys.
There's a team in Arizona that needs to declare bankruptcy a few years ago, and not hold out on that.
What is the story with that? Are they getting an arena in Arizona? Or what's going on with that?
I think there's a better chance of an NHL arena being built in your living room.
Okay.
I would come up here for that. On our next webinar, we try
The
out
New
the
York
new
Broadway
hardware.
Whizzes.
Yeah. Yeah, our next virtual tour, the history and features of the Arizona Coyotes.
Well, they're playing.
Well, there ain't much to
Mullen
talk
Arena.
about there. Yeah, they're playing at Arizona State,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
And last I had heard, and this was a while ago, like maybe 6 months ago, that they were looking at land in, I think, Mesa. But like the people, the money are in the east suburbs of Phoenix, so that's a better place for them to be than in Glendale. I actually went to a game in Glendale once.
Yeah,
You've got
And I was thinking to myself, I went in, 2010, and I was thinking to myself, oh, like, I need to go see a game in Phoenix before the Coyotes move.
yeah, because they've been talking about moving that team for probably 15 years
Just
now,
about, yeah.
haven't they? Yeah. They spent more time thinking about where they're going to move than actually being in Phoenix
Same
or in
thing
that
happened in the
metro.
Oakland A's, and somehow that worked.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's hope yet for
Well, I guess-
Arizona to lose in hockey.
Well, there's hope for the Allen.
Yeah.
All hail.
Well, Oakland is getting a new baseball team.
Yeah, I know
The
where you're
Oakland
going with
Bees.
this. Yeah.
That's as
The
close.
Ballers.
That's as close to baseball as the Jets are to football.
Yeah, well, it's a Pioneer League or something like that. It's a independent minor league team.
Yes.
Wait, so you lose the A's and you gain the B's?
Yes.
Are they going to move and then they have to have the C's?
This isn't related to the Sacramento Bees.
No, then you
is
get
it?
the O's.
No.
Those are the
Or
only
the
blood
Salt
cells.
Lake Bees. I think
Bees
those
is short for ballers.
Oh, okay.
That's
Because there is a AAA
Yeah.
team called the Bees.
Yeah,
BEES.
B's.
Yeah.
Well, the Atlanta Braves, when they were in Boston for a few years, like the 30s, maybe into the 40s,
Yes.
they were known as the Bees.
They were the
Hmm.
Boston Braves officially, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just Boston disrespecting people with fears of bees, as Boston tends to disrespect.
I know they disrespect you quite a bit.
They
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Wayne Gretzky was one of the coaches of the Coyotes franchise
was, yeah.
at one time, right? And that worked spectacularly well.
He's the great one. They're not.
He's now I think an analyst on TNT.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Charles Barkley brought him in.
So Charles Barkley does the NHL too?
He pops in from time to time.
He's dynamite.
I'd like to hear that.
He'll
Hey
win the
man,
fight.
hey man, let me tell you something, man. These New York
Chief Hosa.
Islanders is terrible.
I remember being Chief Hosa when I went there. This next exit leads to a great Native American.
Who now?
Chief Hosa.
Oh.
See?
That's what they should do. They should trade Zach Wilson to the Arizona Coyotes.
For Wayne Gretzky.
I mean, it's a retirement community,
Sure.
so he'd be. He's a retirement community, so he'd be very happy there.
Yeah, right.
Chief Hosa.
Yeah, mile 253. In this area coming up is the Buffalo Bill Museum, I think.
That's where he's buried.
That is his grave in that area.
Lookout Mountain.
Lookout Mountain, that's what it is.
I've
Yep.
been to.
Yeah, I've been there too. I have not been to the actual grave and all the exhibits there, but if you go to the top of Lookout Mountain, there's a parking lot there, and you've got a great view of
Golden.
Golden and the Denver Metro there at the bottom of the mountain.
Yep.
Yeah, that was also the 2015 meet.
Yep, it was. It was a fun place to play with a zoom lens.
Yeah.
Look, I'm standing on top of the on top of the mountain, and I can watch that traffic light change.
And
down
also
there.
near here, maybe it's a few miles down, is the exit that takes you to Red Rocks, which
Oh, that's-
doubles as an amphitheater and a place where people go running in the morning.
Oh yeah, that's what that is. Yeah.
There's also
Okay.
a lot of hiking trails there too.
Yeah.
When I had visited Denver once, I had like, okay, I'm like, these are things I'm gonna do in the area, and Red Rocks was one of them.
Steep grades, sharp curves, next 5 miles.
All right, here is the big descent into Denver. We passed this highest point in the drive, and this is This grade gets as steep as like 6 or 7% at times.
Which is out of spec for interstate standards.
So it
by
should
the
be
way.
no more than 6 downhill.
Yeah, so this...
Well, it's an allowed exception.
Yeah.
It'd have to be signed.
It is.
Don't be fooled. Yeah, I love these custom signs for out in the West where you have steep grades and all that, and you get some interesting signage at times.
Well, in this case, it's right. They had a long enough downgrade that they decided that they needed to
Oh, it's been 5 miles, right?
be a little bit more attention-getting with the messages.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is this is a part of I-70 where you're going to have a lot of out-of-town traffic. You know, you have a lot of people who are maybe not familiar because they're basically in Colorado for vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Denver's a big starting off point. So
Man, we're making these cookies disappear, aren't we?
Doug brought enough for 4 people.
He did.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a runaway truck ramp up ahead.
Run away.
3
truck,
miles to
never
go.
coming back.
Run away.
Ooh, it's a truck's a runaway. I can make an entire album about runaway trucks.
You could make an entire podcast episode, I bet.
About runaway trucks?
Sure.
You could.
The reported grade is 7% for 7 miles. That'll do it.
Yeah.
And you can see it's not. I mean, it's fairly steady, but there are some hiccups, which means parts of it are steeper than that.
Yeah, and you have the curves mixed in also, which makes things a lot more treacherous. I mean,
heading
it's
down. Yeah, trucks will just be in a lower gear. Heading up, they're pushing it for 7 miles.
yeah, and keep in mind this is a clear day. You know, imagine being on this road during
Truckers,
a
you are
snow-
not down yet.
Not done yet.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a cloudy day. Imagine being on this in a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah, well,
That's
or
what I want
during
I want the viewers to imagine this beautiful sunny day.
I prefer them to imagine what this is like in a snow squall. That's got to be fun.
Just close your eyes.
But no, but then it'll be black that you're seeing and not white.
If it's snowing at night.
No, you didn't say at night.
I didn't say during the day.
Wait, it's a point of geological interest, at least coming up.
Is that what all those hay bales are for?
Yeah, that's geologically interesting. Hey,
I think that's a
Hey,
rock.
now.
Yeah, I think I haven't been to that, but I think that's a rock cut that exposes the geological Dakota humpback, which is a geological formation that's pretty prominent in this area. As we round the curve here, we approach. All right,
40.
that's-
Sorry, US 40.
Yeah, I-40 works too.
The eastern split off. Sorry, so we picked up 40 back by Empire, but now it's about to branch off back onto local
Yeah.
roads again.
And here we have our first real interchanges of Denver Metro, with Colorado 470 coming up.
Not E470, the drivable one.
Yeah, the Alps friendly ones.
Yeah.
Be like C470.
Yeah, what is the deal with that? Everybody calls it C470,
Because
but
it's Colorado State Route 470.
Yep.
but it's not.
But part of it is E, so the rest that isn't is C. It's just easier that way.
But they don't do C State Highway in
I used to,
Colorado.
but
They
was
do
taught-
for this one.
I was taught otherwise, but when my website started, it was C-, and I got that from the person who first seeded my site, which means that sometime in the 70s, it may have actually been C-, and then they went to CO number sometime later. So C470 may very well tie back to the way they used to refer to all their state routes. I would need somebody who's lived in Colorado 50 years to discuss this with, who's not listening to this probably, but I can touch base
no,
with
but
them.
I believe Colorado by standard is SH this or that now.
Right.
Okay, so we can't. So it's not Corco then. Okay.
Corco would not be 80 years old now.
Oh, okay. But he will be in 50 years.
Regardless, all of the 470 was planned as Interstate 470, but the state of Colorado decided that they weren't interested in spending the money building it that way. So eventually they built the road anyway, but they weren't able to build it with the interstate money. So only part of it was the southwestern quadrant was built as a free road. The southeastern and northeastern quadrants were built as the toll road E470. Part of the northwestern quadrant was built as the toll road Northwestern Parkway, and the rest of the northwestern quadrant remains unbuilt.
And that is unlikely to change, as we'll talk more about next week.
Because the people of Golden do not want this changed.
That's the short version of it.
They just want their banquet beer.
No, well, and part of US 6 is actually built on top of what was supposed to be the 470 alignment, but it's not built that way as a freeway.
Mm-hmm.
Not entirely. It's funny. They were just recently putting in an interchange on that road where there was an intersection. And so now it's like, all right, well, you only need a couple of more interchanges, and then there are actually no intersections between 70 and Golden anymore. But
it doesn't have to be a freeway. That's not why we like it.
We just need more roundabouts.
NREL is off of this exit.
So some information about Denver Metro, which is where we find ourselves at this point. Let's see.
It is the capital of the Centennial State.
What is the nickname of Colorado?
The Centennial State.
It is?
Yes.
Well, because it became a state in 1876.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Denver, the city population is 715,000 per the 2020 census. The greater Denver Metro is, let's see, about 3 million.
They may warrant one or two teams. They don't deserve to have teams in all four sports, though.
Yeah, especially hockey. What do they have a hockey team for?
Yeah, it's not like there's snow around here.
Nope.
In June. But yeah, I mean, it may be a metro of 3 million, but it's the only sizable city for hundreds of miles in any direction. So
yeah, so like the next large size metro area is at least a full day's drive away.
Salt Lake City.
I guess that would be the closest one.
Salt Lake City, and then
Salt Lake to the west,
Albuquerque?
Kansas City to the east.
Right.
Albuquerque to the south, although Albuquerque's not quite as big.
Saskatoon to the north.
What, El Paso to the south? I don't know what you're on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could argue Albuquerque, but it's
hard.
That's a few hundred miles.
Albuquerque feels smaller.
Yeah. I think Albuquerque is.
It just feels smaller.
Albuquerque is about. It reminds me, size-wise, of Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bigger than that, but.
And Albuquerque probably compares a lot more to Phoenix, but smaller.
That's an interesting comparison. Yeah.
Phoenix is another city that just
feel like it's a bit like Tucson in that regard.
58,
yeah.
Colorado 58 freeway heading west towards Golden from here as we're about to curve to the right.
Yeah.
West Golden?
Yes, it heads west to Golden
Not
from here.
northwest?
We're east of it. It's pretty much west. We were just heading northeast, and now we're about to curve and head east.
Yeah.
I see where we are now. We're heading north in that. We're really heading north.
For a bit.
Yes.
For a moment.
I am now all caught up. Okay.
Yeah. This is around where, had they built one of the iterations of the Northwestern Tollway, that it would have tied in right around here. And then headed basically straight north to US 36 before picking up what's now the Northwest Parkway.
I just remember getting to the west end of 58 and everybody turned off. No one was going straight on 6. I got a nice little drive through Clear Creek Canyon. That I do recommend. It's closer to Denver.
That is a good drive. Yeah.
It is a very, very scenic.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I did 6. I think I went up 72 after that to Nederland, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. All those towns in the mountains.
70 across the Denver Metro was largely constructed in the 1960s. The section on the north side of the city proper was I would say that was early 60s design predominantly. Most of the section near I-25 was opened by 1966. And then we'll talk about the other recent major change to I-70 that was recently completed this year. But before we get to that, I'll mention the Western I-76, which begins right here.
Which will take you out to, well, eventually to,
Nothing at all.
pretty much, yeah.
It'll take you to Fort Morgan and then Julesburg.
It's a it's a good way to clinch US 138, and I have not found another use for I-76 besides that.
It's a good way to follow the South Platte River.
To have the only north-south interstate in Nebraska.
Yeah, so I don't know. That might be changing, actually, because some of the recent overhead signage there now says it's east-west.
As it should.
Yeah.
That's a question of, did whoever in Nebraska assigned 76 north-south look at those plans or not? But
Well, yeah.
anyway.
So I guess it is technically up for debate now, but yeah. So 76 kind of heads northeasterly. It basically connects I-80 with the Denver metro area.
Well, I think it used to be I-80 South or something like that.
Yeah, it was I-80S originally.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was going to end. It always ended at I-25 for the longest time. The continuation of it west to here is a relatively recent development. And I think that was kind of...
Well, because it wouldn't have had reason to exist before 70 up through the mountains was finished.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it was kind of built as compensation for not having the Northwestern 470. So you do kind of have a sort of an inner belt or an inner bypass there with 76 and 270 that kind of gets you around this urban section of 70.
Yeah, now with the interchange with I-25, you have the T-Rex project, as they called it, that was a project that was wrapped up around 2005 or so, I believe.
If you say you're going, I say you better.
And right, and it was a massive rebuild of I-25 through the downtown area, and it affected a little piece of I-70, but it left the section east of there undealt with at the time, and it would be a bit longer before anything was done with that. There were various controversies over that. There were proposals to straight up remove that section of I-70 and reroute I-70 over 270 and 76. That did not happen.
Dear New York.
Instead, instead what used to be an elevated highway through the east side of Denver was relocated into a highway and a trench, which we will see in a bit.
Yeah, it's important to differentiate. The T-Rex project that Anthony alluded to is not the same thing as the Central 70 project, which is the tunnel project, though. But let's deal with the T-Rex first, because that was done about 20 to 25 years ago that was developed, and that involved reconstruction of I-25 and 225, and it also gave birth to the Denver light rail system that we have today. Yay, transit! So the Denver light rail system owes its existence to this $1.7 billion program that was begun around the year 2000 or so. And the improvements to I-25 were completed in 2005.
Okay, yep.
Now, the Central 70 project, as we switch gears here, that project was constructed from 2018 to 2023. It was physically completed this summer. In next week's webinar, I'll show you some pictures I took of the completed tunnel right after it was basically completed and the park was finished overhead. That project was years in the making as well. The total cost of that came in at $1.2 billion. It involved replacing the elevated structure across North Denver with a below-grade section that includes the lengthy tunnel, which is capped with green space and public parkland. It involved the construction of tolled express lanes, which you can see signs for right here. Yay, more toll lanes that nobody ever uses. tolling of these new lanes began, where this is being recorded in December of 23. It was started a few months ago. So you have new toll lanes. I think there's 2 toll lanes in each direction for most of this, and then there's
look at
additional.
The median just suddenly widen out here.
Yeah, look at that. Isn't that lovely?
Wonder
By
how
the way,
long that-
Denver locals refer to this interchange as the mousetrap, because at rush hour you get stuck in it and it's very hard to get out, I guess.
And then
By the
cats
way,
play- and then the cats play with you.
Yeah, so if
Game
you
of
pan
reaction a crazy contraption.
yeah, if you pan the camera about 90 degrees to the right, you would get a nice view of downtown Denver.
Please do so.
I wish I could, but
Oh.
It's permanently mounted and he's focusing on driving.
yeah.
Boo.
Boo.
Boo, good driving. Sorry, I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah, so more lanes, modern shoulders, because the original viaduct that was built in 1965 didn't have shoulders on the left or the right. So all these safety improvements, placing the highway below grade was a benefit, and it was a plus to the local residents and the local neighborhoods in the area. And by placing a park atop the cap on the tunnel, that provided a lot of public green space in an area that was really a desert for public parkland in that part of Denver. So it accomplished a lot of different things at once from an urban planning perspective, and it keeps the highway in place, and it gives people a better highway, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think it's a perfect example of an urban situation like this, where you can replace your antiquated infrastructure with modern things that
Right, so
benefit.
keep the capacity and redundancy in place. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it eliminates all button copy.
It is also worth noting that as per standard procedure in Colorado now, there are actually no new general purpose lanes. The old viaduct was 6 lanes. The new below grade highway is still 6 regular lanes, and there's an extra 4 lanes that are only toll lanes.
Yeah, and here is the tunnel.
I guess actually only 2 lanes. They narrowed it down.
Yeah, what was this you were saying about?
Colorado will not add new free lanes anymore. It's just not a thing they do. If there's a new lane, it's going to have a toll on it, and here is no exception.
And you said that this was a statewide policy, or was it?
If it's not a written policy, it's a thing that happens because of political necessity. But yeah, every widening project in Colorado the past decade has been toll lanes. They don't put new regular lanes in anymore.
Well, now that you mention it, yeah, I mean, the quote-unquote widening of I-25 south of Denver towards Colorado Springs
Yeah,
and
same
north
deal.
towards Fort Collins.
Same deal.
Yeah.
That section of I-25 still only has 4 general purpose lanes. They added a left lane and they told it.
Yep.
Who do
Yep.
they tell it to?
Your wallet.
Send Alps the bill, yeah.
Yes. And my address is 1212 Mockingbird Lane.
Yeah, but we did also back there drive through the place where they built the park over the highway that was where all the Jet fans were.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
Not fans of the football team, actually.
Or the
Jet
hockey
fans.
team.
Aww.
No, or the hockey team. That's in Winnipeg. When is there going to be a Winnipeg webinar, anyways?
World Series?
I don't know. There's a few of those Canadian cities that... Yeah, you know what? We actually have not done a live episode that was Canada-focused.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Well, time to get on it.
If you haven't been, you've got at least 3 people in this room who'll go with you.
Well,
Possibly more.
I mean, I've been to Montreal and
Well,
Toronto,
there
for
is a
instance, but
Quebec
it's been-
Street in Denver.
Well, that is true.
And in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
There's also a Central Park Boulevard, because why not?
And they plan to clinch every state named street in D.C. And after about 3 state named streets, I was like, this is stupid, there's nothing to see, and it's slow. I gave up.
Yes.
That's DC for you.
I had eyes on it. I'm doing the whole system.
All 50 do exist.
Yeah, plus the Canadian ones were thrown in for good measure.
I believe there is also a Puerto Rico Avenue.
That's not a state yet.
Well,
Uh,
it's there though.
I said yet.
Some people want it to be a state. There's that much that we know. Yeah, so this Central 70 project goes on for a few more miles out to the 225 interchange. And it was, when they built this, they split it up into multiple phases. So, like, the contract from I-270, which is merging in from the left here, that was kind of one phase going out east. And then the phase that we just, came from, that was its own separate subcontract that was let. So you had a lot of different, you had this long project, but it was built in very deliberate, chunks at once, and then they kind of, it all looks, obviously it's all completed now, but it was, I don't commute on this stretch of I-70, I don't commute on I-70 period, but, this must not have been a lot of fun, for the last few years. So yeah, 270 merges in. You cannot access 270 west from 70 east, which is predictable. 270 is kind of that northeastern part of that inner loop that I was telling you about with I-76. And then shortly after 270 merges in, actually right where we are right now, we used to have another tunnel, but this is one that airplanes used to cross overhead on. And we alluded to this before when we were talking about Stapleton Airport.
Right, well, because Stapleton Airport did actually cross right over I-70.
And there are pictures that you'd see where, like, the jets, they would be crossing over I-70.
Again, not the football team.
Or the hockey. Or the West Side Story.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one.
I'd have to bring it.
Yeah.
But I think that was the only example of an active runway crossing over an interstate.
Yeah, there are examples of active taxiways crossing over interstates. You can find that at JFK.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
With the
active landing runway or takeoff runway, you're saying?
Yeah, I think now with the latest runway expansion in Atlanta, that's now one. There's that big tunnel that the perimeter crosses through near I-75. That's the only other one I can think of at this point. And obviously, this one was removed at the end of the 90s when the airport moved out to western Kansas. But
Just about.
yeah, that's what people around Denver say. It's like, oh, the airport's now out in Kansas. Because as the crow flies, it's about 25 miles from downtown Denver to the airport terminal.
Right, well, and then Stapleton was closer, but it had no room to expand where it was.
Right.
So that's why they moved it out.
Yep. Which actually, the 25 miles, that's about the same distance, if you're looking for context, between downtown D.C. and Dulles.
225 south. Meow.
Meow. That's what I gotta do before the webinar next week.
Yeah.
I gotta add the picture of Aurora to the slide because I did that for the Buffalo meet, the Buffalo webinar. We need a cat picture because it's the Aurora Expressway.
There should always be cat pictures.
Yes.
Yeah, so these flyovers were also built as part of the Central 70 program. I think there have always been flyovers here. I think this was always a directional T interchange. But these flyovers are much wider, much higher capacity.
Rebuilt to allow more room.
Yeah. And then right after the 225 junction is the split for Pena Boulevard, which is the freeway that takes you up to Denver International.
Which is a freeway in spite of being named Boulevard.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to why they call it Boulevard.
Probably was upgraded.
I mean, it may have been that there was a plan for a boulevard along, part of this alignment, and then the name just carried over. But, the name is a little bit misleading. It is a full freeway. And at this point, you still have about 12 miles to get to the airport. So it's a pretty lengthy drive.
It is a full freeway. It's also not a state highway.
That is correct.
Right.
I think it's maintained by the city of Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's named after a former mayor of Denver. Actually, I think Federico Pena was also a former Secretary of Transportation as well.
And the baseball player and tomato sauce manufacturer.
No, he was he was the Secretary of Transportation and the Secretary of Energy, both in the Clinton administration.
Which Clinton?
George Clinton.
He from All Stars.
Airport Boulevard, meanwhile, is not actually the fastest route to the airport.
That is
Here's
correct.
now the tallest thing you'll see from this point east.
Yeah, we're kind of at our high point for the next 500 miles.
1,000.
Well, I guess, if you're looking for hills, you're not going to see much of that
Yeah.
for a while.
But I mean, this is still higher than anything in Pennsylvania.
Well, that's true.
This is true, yes.
You may have more variation in topography there, but it's just downhill from here all the way to Mississippi.
That's right. Case in point, you have to go through Pennsylvania.
Head east. You're downhill. You're with the wind. You get incredible fuel economy.
So, riddle me this, answer me this. What's the fastest way between Indianapolis and Denver? Probably, or most direct way, is probably US 36.
Well, that is the way US 36 has historically advertised itself. Whether that's actually still true, given the interstate system, I don't know. But
You want to do a field experiment and try this out? Yeah, so as we get past the Pena Boulevard interchange, we passed Airport Boulevard. We are kind of starting to wind down this video. Things will start to quiet down substantially as we emerge on the eastern fringes of the metro. And then you have, so once we get past, so the E470 interchange is coming up in a couple of miles. And then once you're past that, you've got like 150 miles of eastern Colorado nonsense before you have 200 miles of Kansas nonsense after that. So
It's not nonsense. There's not even anything there to call nonsense.
well, there's nothing there. That's the problem.
Right. That's
Yeah.
why you really want to drive U.S. highways in the Midwest, because at least you have towns to stop in.
that's not the Midwest, but okay.
Well,
Yes, Kansas is the Midwest. Midwest to me is everything with wheat fields.
Okay.
It is the Midwest from here until the Mississippi River, and then I don't care what you call it. In other news, Vikings and Raiders have yet to score. 49ers are up 14-10, but Seattle has the ball at their own 5-yard line. Bills are up 14-0 on the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs have the ball and they're driving.
the Chiefs.
What are the coins doing?
And Broncos are not doing much against the Chargers, but they're up 7-0.
The coins.
We're talking about what the Bills were doing.
Oh.
Coins are being donated. to
Post no bills, Anthony. Here's Colfax Avenue.
Right. Well, and this interchange with E470 is also a little interesting because originally there were actually no direct connections between the two roads built.
Is this like Texas? Oh, you have to go on frontage roads?
You did, but there are a couple of direct ramps now.
So it's kind of like a breezewood in its own.
Well, so all the ramps came up to the E470 main line. So there were traffic lights on E470 when it was built originally, and then they kind of eradicated that with proper ramps. And then this flyover here was a relatively recent development. But yeah, when the E470 was built, that they kind of
you'll actually notice
cobbled something together.
You get off the exit, you're not actually getting directly on the highway. You have to go left or right depending on which way you want to go on it.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to open Google Maps and say, go to where we are now, but it's not going to take me to where this video is.
It won't
So I have to follow along.
Yes.
Otherwise,
I think Laura has jumped on the Chiefs bandwagon.
boo,
All the Swifties are rooting for the Chiefs now.
boo. Well, I see. Yeah, I see what
No, they're rooting for Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
Yeah.
He's known as. He's no longer Travis Kelce.
I question why you would go through the
The artist formerly known as Travis Kelce.
You would go through the expense of building a north to west flyover, which clearly means it must be important, but you do nothing similar for east to south.
Yep, and as we pass C470, we enter the countryside of eastern Colorado, and that is it for today's video.
Yes.
we can have a couple of minutes if people have last minute comments and questions.
Concerns?
Recommendations.
Recommendations for podcast episodes, because apparently this young man has nothing to podcast about.
I'm older than you.
Well, you're still young in my book.
You're young at heart.
I have gray hair.
I have more gray. I have gray hair.
I have more hair than you.
Well, who was that directed at? Oh, I was gonna say, like, hey, what are you saying there? Yeah, so this was good. We're back for the winter. Again, I'll show you guys.
Well, Laura has a question for Dan.
I'll show you next week's show on the screen, so that.
Shout it out loud.
Yeah, I had a. What?
Said Laura has a
Yeah,
question.
it's like, I have a question for Dan.
Yeah.
It's like, will you grow out your hair like Ben, the AA Wiki road celebrity?
No. I'm
Ben,
sorry.
who is Ben?
This is
The Tic Tac guy.
So that's the guy from the Slate article on the AA Wiki.
Who I've
thingy.
never heard of before the article.
I have no idea what any of this is.
Yeah, we only talked about it like an hour and a half ago.
There's an
but-
article?
On Slate.
There's a Slate article where yes, this individual is interviewed.
Huh.
Who I've never heard of before this article, by the
But
way.
has hair.
Well, because they're a Wikipedia editor and have not otherwise been involved in the community as far as I know, beyond Wikipedia, and now AARoads Wiki.
Well, I do say that, the hobby it's a Big Ten hobby.
Oh, it's a Big Ten, all right. It's a circus.
So you're saying that people outside favor the SEC version? That we play second fiddle to another hobby?
We do play second fiddle to Rail Fanning, don't we?
Yeah. They're the SEC. They get all the calls.
Where we like the...
We're better, but they get all the calls in their favor.
We're like the Mountain West.
No, but I say Big Ten hobby as in, basically you have Wikipedia people, you have people who do YouTube, just people who go to roadmates, people who just, basically look stuff on Facebook, etc., etc. And people have different interests.
Yeah,
so,
you do get a lot. I mean, a lot of it is sign based, but you do get a lot
the
of
history aspects. A lot of people are into that too.
Yeah, you do get a lot of different factions. Yeah, within the general constructs. Yeah, Laura, I'm really sorry. I know you really like long hair, but it ain't gonna happen with me, unfortunately. There are pictures of me from college. I don't know if you guys have even seen these, where I have much longer hair down to like here.
I had hair to
Yeah.
here, and then I buzzed it, and I think it's about time to buzz it again.
Well,
I usually go buzz my head once every 3 to 4 months. So.
yeah.
Well, now you know about my grooming patterns.
See, these are the things that you tune into a live show and you never know what we're going to talk about exactly, and you never know what you're going to learn about us.
Yes.
But, you guys have any closing thoughts before we wrap up, or anything you want to?
Every new beginning is some other beginning's end.
That is yes.
I mean,
That is my closing time.
It is about closing
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Okay, Semisonic.
Yeah, no, this was fun. It was great to have you guys back, and I'm looking forward to having more shows. We have one lined up for each week now, basically, between now and the middle of March. And yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Hope you guys join us next time. And we're going to sign off right here. I hope you have found this episode useful, this live episode. For Doug and for Anthony and for Steve, I am Dan Roadway Wiz. Thank you very much for watching, and look forward to seeing you again on our next live stream.
And at our next road meet.
Bye.
Yes.
But you can come to the road meet too.
Peace.
We'll see you in New Orleans, February 17th.
I'll see you next week in wherever town it is.
Yeah, whatever town it is that you're doing
In
something.
South Jersey.
Yeah. See you there.
See you there.
Or be square.
Yeah,
Be there or be square.
something like that. See ya.